Hello, Buggy fans. Welcome to this special CMU 125 Homecoming edition of the Raceday Rewatch series, brought to you by the Buggy Alumni Association's History Committee. My name is Brian Arsham. I'm the Buggy Alumni Association archivist. And for those of you who haven't joined one of our Raceday Rewatches before, it's exactly what it sounds like. We'll rewatch some old races. But we'll also have a few special guests come on. They'll talk about, the races, what we're seeing here, share some behind the scenes stories, just talk about Buggy generally, etc. Um, so now, in celebration of CMU's 125th anniversary, we decided for this Race Day rewatch, we would reach all the way back to, 7 months ago. Yeah, we are rewatching Race Day 2025. Usually we try to go a bit further back, but for any of you who aren't aware, 2025 was a bit unique in Buggy's history. If you're brand new to Buggy, the races take place during Spring Carnival, which last year took place on April 4th and 5th. But for the first time since 1981, weather knocked out both days of racing for the men's and women's heats, as well as the initial rain date on the Sunday of Spring Carnival weekend. So most of the races actually took place the following weekend, early in the morning on April 11th and 12th, and there was very limited live coverage of those races. So we figured that this homecoming would be a good time to rewatch those races as a group because there's a decent chance that some folks out there haven't actually seen the 2025 races yet. So we figured we'd try to recreate the communal experience, both virtually as well as live in person. If you're on campus in the University Center, the Cohen University Center, in the Danforth room, I believe we are set up in there. So it's pretty simple. We're going to sit back. We're going to watch all the heats from 2025, talk about the races, and try to have some fun while doing so. If you're totally brand new to Buggy, we'll try to explain what's going on, like the fact that, yes, there is actually a person inside the vehicles that you're seeing. And if you're watching in person in the UC, or watching at home on YouTube, feel free to ask questions in either the YouTube chat. We have our Discord chat if you're in the Discord. If you're in person, feel free to just shout out, and I'm sure James or someone in the room will pass your questions along, and we'll talk about it on here. And if you happen to be involved in Race Day 2025 in some way, and you want to come on this broadcast while we're doing it, just let us know and jump in. It'll be good. We'll have a good time. But before we get started with 2025, we do actually have one small surprise to celebrate CMU's 125th anniversary. What you're about to see is a world premiere, well, a world YouTube premiere at least, of the oldest Buggy footage that exists. Thanks to the CMU archives, we uncovered this a little earlier this year. This is Race Day 1930. So that was the finals of Race Day 1930. As you can see, things were a little different back then. If I jump back to the beginning here, the finals, which took place during Spring Carnival that year in May, these races were on Saturday, May 10th, during CMU's first ever Spring Carnival. It was called Campus Week prior to 1930, so 1930 was the first time it was a Spring Carnival. 8 teams raced in the preliminaries, which took place on a Wednesday morning, and 6 of them, you see them here, advanced to the Saturday finals. Unlike today, though, all 6 raced together in one heat for all the marbles. So the 6 fraternities competing back then were Beta Theta Pi on the far left, Phi Sigma Kappa, second from the left, Sigma Nu, third from the left, Phi Kappa, which became Phi Kappa Theta, third from the right, Kappa Sigma, second from the right, and Delta Tau Delta in the far right. The winner was Beta Theta Pi. We're not going to replay this, but this 1930 video will be live on the CMU Buggy YouTube channel as soon as this broadcast is over. So feel free to rewatch it and see all the interesting things that happened in 1930 during the finals. But for now, we are going to fast forward all the way to April 4th, 2025, which we go from the May Spring Carnival to the earliest Spring Carnival in history. There was a timing heat and an exhibition beforehand. We're going to jump straight
I'll go ahead
into
and read
the
some rosters while we're swapping out, but always a
which is
pleasure
the
to
first
call with
division.
both of you. And yeah, so let's go ahead and run through here.
We'll
CIA
sit back and
all
watch
gender
this. We'll do the exhibitions will be there
the
at the end.
driver is Lucy
As I lower the
Hill
volume on
1,
that commentary a bit, because
Hill
we'll
2,
talk over
Yeyun Song,
some of
Hill
that.
3, Shirley Lee,
I don't know how
Hill
loud that
4,
is.
Summer Sun, and Hill 5, Cheneray.
This is, you'd think after doing these several times, I would,
then
be more
lane
adept
2,
at
we
handling
will
it.
have
But anyway, so here we have
they
the first
the driver is
the first all
Lily
gender
Quinn,
heat coming
Hill
up,
1,
which
Liam
is,
Swain, Hill 2,
as you can
Sam
see,
Green, Hill 3,
CIA
Gus 4,
and
Michelle
Apex.
Fink, and Hill 5,
But
Stephen
along with that,
Shaw.
we have our first guest who's
So
going to
here
be
we are,
joining us
folks.
for much of
Under
today.
30 seconds to go
Elena Harley,
till the start
sweepstakes
of
chair from
real official
2025.
races. So here we
Elena,
go.
why don't you introduce yourself, even though I just gave you a very slight introduction?
Hi, I'm Elena. I was the sweepstakes chairman all of last year.
And they are off,
Before that, I was on Apex for 4 years. I also did design comp chairman for sweepstakes. And I'm excited to relive this from a little bit more distance behind cameras.
They've been rolling
Yeah, so for those who don't know what sweepstakes is, it's the organizing committee made up of students.
And you can see the team running behind. One of the great things about Raceday, just that camaraderie,
and Elena
that
as sweepstakes chair was
really nice transition.
pretty busy, I would say, on Raceday.
CIA just now making
correct
that
me if I'm
transition.
wrong.
Apex looking for a
We had the wet road delay up until like 11:30 a.m. I think out of our time. You can see the roads in this first heat are already still a little damp, but they finally got safe enough to roll on. For those who don't know, it's not safe to have buggies roll when the roads are wet because they get slick, and then it makes all the turns on the course unsafe. So we had to delay several hours to start this, and I was in the back with a spreadsheet just constantly updating it every like 10 minutes or so to try to communicate to everyone when things were going to get started. So this was a very stressful heat. We were cheering from the follow car.
And this, I mean, we will certainly talk a lot about the weather here as we watch these races, but I mean, obviously, weather, like you said, it delayed these rolls, and as I mentioned earlier, the men's and women's heats actually got pushed, ended up being pushed a week because we didn't have enough time. I forget what time the races, they're scheduled to start at 8 o'clock. I think these started at about like 11. If I'm correct.
It was past, I think it was 11. I'm trying to pull up our final schedule.
I want to say it was like 11 or 11:30, something around there. It was very late in the day.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. We got down to about a little over an hour and a half left of time. Since we have to get kind of done by 1, a little after 1. So we cut down, and we had preemptively, in expectation of this exact problem, kind of cut down to just the all gender races, and then whatever time we had left at the end, we'd do exhibitions in. But we weren't really expecting to get more than a few rolls in that day.
This is a pretty fast-looking Hill 5 from the Apex team here. CIA still nowhere in the frame. Not sure if that.
So here's Apex, and you can see here there's a bit of a struggle. Not just more behind the scenes stuff, just getting a broadcast up and running. You can see the clock on here is 259. I don't know what that really means. The actual time for Apex there was 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So the clock gets a little better as we go, and then obviously we moved into the next day later on.
See, these teams
but here, you know, we include in these heat videos
CIA,
the drop test, which is a test to prove that the brakes of the buggy actually work.
I think was our all-gender winner a couple of years ago.
I don't believe. I think there was one.
Start to see
if you can't stop, you'll see there's the starting line here, and then as they approach a second line, they have to stop before that third line. That Firefly swerves around.
There, I don't know.
It did pass. It barely stopped before that line, but you just have to stop before that line in order to
we have the judges reviewing.
in order to pass.
A call on that.
So we'll get to see some of those, but this year in 2025, we actually didn't have any DQs for a drops failure. So honestly, a little surprising. There's usually at least one, but it's very nice to see that teams had their brakes working, especially on a day that was so wet out.
Obviously, some DQs are not immediately obvious.
I think we had managed to scare the teams about this a little bit the weekend before. We had a truck weekend where the roads were wet. The beginning, truck weekend being like a race day, quote unquote, rehearsal. The set of rolls the week before race day. And when we do drops during rolls, we do them before the actual practices during the dark, and it's to make sure that all the buggies' brakes are working before they're allowed to roll around the course. And the roads were still wet at that time, and so we did have buggies that failed drops because of wet roads and got to try again once the roads dried a little bit more. But usually getting stressed about that sort of thing helps the teams make sure it's going to be fixed by the actual races.
And so what was the thought behind the towel out at drops? I'm curious about that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this was a thing from the teams. They wanted that because they were worried about wet wheels making them fail drops. And so
do we think it actually had an effect?
I do not know. I'm sure it had an emotional supportive effect for many people involved. But the ruling from us on sweepstakes was that they could roll across it like once, and then it would they'd go right to 2 drops. All the towels were there because we asked people to bring towels because we were literally drying the roads with towels in certain areas prior to the races starting, and so the teams wanted to use that to keep one going.
Gotcha. So yeah, this next heat between DG, Delta Gamma A, and Spirit A was I think the closest heat of, well, minus an exhibition, certainly the closest heat of the carnival weekend of rolls, which led to a bit of chaos coming up in the chute here.
Yeah, so one thing we as sweepstakes try to do is make sure that this doesn't happen where the buggies are really close to each other at the shove off into the free roll. Races aren't like back in the 30s all head to head, they're timed. And so you want to give the drivers the opportunity to do their best driving possible, which means that they get to drive like they practice, all alone on the course. But for timing reasons, they all have to go like together in heats because we don't have all day. And so usually you want the buggies to be far apart to let the drivers do what they need to do. And sometimes this happens where they're quite a bit closer. And so we do pass tests in the spring to train the drivers and make sure they understand how to get around another buggy. But sometimes judging those speeds can be hard. And so right here, I think we have an issue where they take 2 different lines in the chute and the Spirit driver, in an attempt to get around that earlier buggy, turns a little bit too much and spins out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, although they were granted a re-roll, I think, because of the... Well, I think, I mean, you would know better than I do, but I think it was either, I think it's a combination of how close they were and the condition of the roads, right?
Yeah, it was mostly if I recall correctly, it was road conditions. And so teams can request to re-roll if the reason that they did not finish the race or did not whatever isn't like their fault, or it's due to some interference or anything along those lines. And so in the case of something like this, where there's a relatively good argument to be made that the weather, the road conditions had an influence in how this turned out, there's no reason not to give them a reroll.
Yeah, and we'll see that re-roll in a couple of heats. I've put that together with the all gender, even though in reality I think there was an exhibition. I think there was a robotic exhibition or two in between, just to give the team a little bit more time to fix up the buggy and get the driver reset and get their wheels reset, all that stuff. But
we intentionally put exhibitions between the sets of heats and then the rerolls for the heats, so that if the last buggies in like the last heat needed to reroll, they would actually have time to get back down to the start and like turn around and get reset and everything. So yeah, there will be some robotic exhibitions between the two.
Yeah. I know they sort of when they were starting.
But okay, so I have to ask, and we will certainly.
They just had
again, this is the overarching theme of I feel like Race Day 25 was the weather. But so when you're going into Friday, right? You're looking at the weather. It's looking pretty bad for Friday. It's looking pretty bad for Saturday. It's not looking great for Sunday either, but Sunday is not as relevant. How prepared were you and your committee for, like, how many backup plans did you have initially prepared for if Friday was going to rain out and if Saturday was going to rain out, as separate from like scrambling that last week to actually solve everything? Like, how much planning had gone in beforehand of what's going to happen if there is rain that pushes things?
So there's this massive spreadsheet that we make called the master schedule, and that has the times for literally everything that happens race day, not just the heats, but like every single meeting we have, every time anything shows up at the course, when we close the roads, all that. And so we make a different schedule for a prelims and a final setup. So what's intended in the rules, where you have a first day and then a second day. And then we also make another schedule for a single day, where if we think there's only going to be one day that we'll get, we run a single day schedule where we get everything done one go, and that's the time that they sit with, as opposed to getting a prelims and finals chance. And so those were kind of the two possibilities that we were giving the chairs going in, was depending on what it looks like, if we think we're only going to get one day, we will run single day, regardless of what day. And that's happened before in the past, where predicted rain on Saturday means that sweepstakes runs a single day schedule on Friday.
Honestly, it's not like it's not like it rarely happens in the past. I feel like about half the time it ends up being a one day instead of 2 days.
Yeah, the rain's been pretty bad. April's a rough time in Pittsburgh for having clear skies.
Yeah, definitely.
It got worse for us because we were predicting rain every single possible day of the 3 that we have the roads for race day. So we only have the roads for those 3 days. We have the roads for Friday, we have them for Saturday, and then we have a backup of Sunday. And so we always tell the teams, like, make sure you have your trucks through Sunday in case something happens. Like, Sunday is the backup, but we were looking at rain all 3 of the days. And so it made it a lot harder to try to decide what to do for each day, because not only are you playing around with like the rain, you're also playing around with people's energy levels. You're playing around with how often can people come out. There's a lot of manpower that goes into races. If we want to have a Sunday day, we can't run both a Friday and a Saturday without like there being some pretty big consequences, just in terms of the manpower we pull. And so that's how we ended up with these like sectioned off schedules. which ultimately didn't all go to fruition. But
and just from my end, just seeing as the schedules get updated, you had some pretty clever names for your different tabs for all the different possibilities. I don't know if you remember any of them, but I think one of them was called like "I Give Up," something like that.
There's still one in here, and it's called "Do You Ever Hate the Rain Coming Down? Oh No." And it's scheduled. It's also titled Friday 4/4/25 Suffering. But this is one we started getting like different. After we decided that we were only going to run all gender for Friday, we released another schedule that was basically like, we know we're not going to roll before like 10 a.m. So everyone can sleep in a little bit more. We're going to delay everything because we're expecting it to be like pouring when we show up. And so then we had like, here's where we're going to start bales because we can't put bales out in the rain. So when the rain is light, you can start putting bales out. When the rain stops, you can start course marshaling. Like we had rain strength-based timing for when certain things would set. And then we were just calling like all of those over our internal Zello up until we were actually able to start the races, which we were hoping for 10 a.m. at the earliest and didn't get until 11.
Engage, disengage, that all.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and meet.
It really is crazy, and then like I mean, if you're a fan or you're a team member, obviously like sweepstakes is busy running around trying to, CMU's got their own weather people who can weigh in on these things, and you guys are all running around. But as a team member, and especially if you're not in leadership, you're just like a pusher. You're sitting there, like you're just trying to stay warm, trying to get ready for a heat that is gonna come, and you have no idea when. It gets pretty stressful.
Yeah, the toll that it took on everyone, both Friday and Saturday, was pretty extreme. And so we ended up not doing Sunday, both because of that and also so that we could potentially do the next weekend. But it's hard. It's hard to be like ready to push your best or ready to drive when you don't know when that's going to be. And we've dealt with that at previous race days where we've had rain issues too. Everyone's just like inside laying on the floor sleeping basically up until it's called that we're gonna go.
And this heat here that is now starting was the final official all gender heat, SDCA with their new buggy Paranoia in lane 2 in the lead here is eventually gonna win this race. I have to give a shout out to SDC here for painting a buggy blue. They have a history. A lot of their members think blue is a cursed color for their buggies. Every buggy in the past that they've painted blue, well, not every buggy that they painted blue, but the last couple that they painted blue did not end up going well. They had Strife, which was a basket of problems. They had Sisu, which I'm not even sure it ever actually rolled or raced because of safety issues. So their alumni were pretty adamant that they could never paint a blue buggy again, and I'm proud of the 2025 SDC team for saying, well, forget about that. We're going to paint it blue, and on top of that, we're just going to name this Paranoia because you guys are all paranoid about it. That's not officially why it's named Paranoia. I don't know why it's named Paranoia. I have no insight in there. I just like to think that's why they called it that.
Pretty nice pickup there with Hill 3. Just a lot of momentum, not too much pushing really required.
I am all for releasing yourself from the chains of your alumni's opinions that bind you. Different teams take different approaches to that. But yeah, for those who don't know, we should probably explain what the all gender races are.
Yeah, go
they
for
are
it.
What they sound like. There is no gender requirement to enter into them. Teams tend to allow pushers who want to be in the all-gender group to go first, and then they'll also fill with access pushers from either their men's or women's teams. the thing I like about it is because there's only one team allowed per organization. So like you're seeing all of these be called like SDC A, SIGEP A. In the men's and women's races, teams can have an A, B, C, and D team per organization. Here they only get an A team. And so it makes the all gender more interesting because you don't quite have a good sense going in of how relatively fast every group is going to be. Obviously they get their own time estimations and sweepstakes has access to that, but it's not the same as saying like, well, SDCA has won the men's races the past however many years, so they're going to win again this year. All it takes is like someone else finding like one fast pusher, and they're probably good. So I found them to be the most interesting races. I think they've had a different champion every single year that they've been around. My personal faves.
You hear the celebration there at the bottom.
Yeah, it is very enjoyable, and I should add, because I have gotten this question before, and it's not something we usually answer, but when we say all gender or men's or women's, that refers to the pushers. The drivers can be whoever. There are no restrictions on who can drive
as you mentioned, Will,
for
just
which
a remarkably fast
in which division.
They've
So
really pulled
the same
together
driver
a
will drive for
very
all
solid
gender
team.
and women's and
It's
men's.
great to see that.
The drive
Putting up
it's a
records
driver
back to
buggy
the 2010s
combination,
form of being the
but
dominant
there
team.
it's the when we talk about a men's heat or a
hard
women's
to
heat
kind
or an
of
all gender heat, that's
rehabilitate
only
their
relating to
image on the course,
who is
work
pushing the
closely with
buggy.
other teams to find a way to kind of
Yeah.
change that culture while
And that's
remaining
important
very,
to know.
very, very competitive. And, you know, they're just
And that was a
sight
big
to see on
change
the
back in
course,
the
and honestly,
the late
that
1970s.
place
Prior to that,
would
it was
not
always
shock
men
anyone.
driving, and then CIA had the brilliant idea to have a woman drive, who was much lighter than the men of lighter and smaller than the men of the fraternities. And so they did that. They won in 1981, and then we haven't seen a male driver win a race since, I believe.
We've had some fast ones. There are some small men out there, but right now it's usually just how small are you.
Yeah.
Usually if you're 5'3", you are just barely at the tall end, maybe too tall to drive, depending on the buggy. So it really limits the types of people who can drive.
But that goes to the point that yes, and you'll be able to somewhat see it here with Spirit because of their nice big windshield. There are actually people inside these things. So if you are brand new to buggy, and you're wondering how these things are making the turns, and you know that the start there where the back of the buggy is picked up can't be comfortable for the person inside, but there is actually a person inside of the buggy.
And it's interesting.
So this is the Spirit reroll that they got for the spin out earlier. So this is the last of the all gender heats, at which point we will jump into the bonus race day coverage, the races from the following week that we've been
that's something again that could
cleverly calling bonus race day. Because who needs one race day? You can have three. Not something that happens very often. But
it's only a problem.
So and then again after we finish the men's and women's heats from bonus race day, we will actually jump back to Carnival weekend for the exhibitions just to complete the cycle, including the final heat that we will watch, which is in my opinion the best heat of the entire 2 weeks, which was the BAA versus Sweepstakes exhibition heat.
I have strong opinions on that one.
I'm very curious because you have been. I guess that's one other thing that we didn't talk about is that you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were a master's student when you were Sweepstakes chair, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had actually graduated CMU and left. And then
I left. I did a year-long internship and came back. So this was my 6th year involved in buggy in some way, if we count me commentating races the previous year. I started in 2019. So I think I was at the time as well the last pre-COVID person involved in buggy still. anyways, it's kind of interesting.
It's crazy. It's just crazy for me to think that COVID was like that. There are people now, like all of the people now who are doing Buggy have never seen Buggy in a pre-COVID era. Well, I mean, they could see it, like watch this on YouTube, but like in person, they've never actually participated in a pre-COVID era, which is wild, absolutely wild.
It's certainly interesting. There's like little things that came up. I always think of it as no one's seen the pre-construction era. Because honestly, the construction was also pretty rough for Buggy.
I didn't even think about the fact that the people who are pushing now don't even necessarily know what Skibo Gym looked like. Or Skate Fall with the potato chip, or like there's all sorts of stuff where the people participating now, because all of that was torn down like during COVID or before.
Ooh, bad fall.
Yeah, so that unfortunately resulted in a DQ for Spirit for not having the push bar as they cross the finish line. I will point out that the roads are it's not going to be the last face plant on Hill 5 that we see. Mostly manual. They are never fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think last year we had more pusher falling injuries than we had Buggy driver injuries because we didn't have any Buggy driver injuries.
Which is good, very good.
Which is good. It's very good to not have Buggy driver injuries. I would also have liked to not have any pushers falling.
Yeah, there was. I mean,
you can only ask for so much.
We'll see one on the Saturday men's heats, but or one of the men's teams. But there were some minor injuries, just scrapes and stuff. But
I wonder if it's their
it's a little rough. But yeah, so now, so this is now the first heat on Saturday morning, the week after Carnival. This is a timing heat between the CIA, a battle between the CIA drivers and the fringe drivers. But you can immediately see it's so much darker out because this took place at like 6:45 in the morning, as opposed to noon. I do want to mention, because I just noticed, Nate has joined the call. I don't know, Nate, if you're actually here. But welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself while we watch this, and your voice will be doubled because you're both in the commentary on the video and talking here. But just introduce yourself, and then I'll jump back to chatting with you and Elena.
Yeah, sure. My name's Nate. I just graduated from CMU. Well, I just finished my 5th year at CMU this past year. Spent all 5 years doing Buggy with CIA, and did various roles. Head mechanic, data analysis, build, pushed almost all of my race days. And then this past year I was doing commentary as well during race day. A little bit in the booth on All Gender Day, but mostly on the following weekend, doing some bottom of the hill commentary and then some back of the truck commentary when Will Weiner had to step out.
We just blew past that.
And so for those who are watching at home or in the room, you can see immediately. I mean, if you've never seen Buggy before, you won't notice. But if you have seen Buggy before, you're seeing camera angles that you've never seen, because this really was organized. The entire setup for the following weekend was basically organized starting Sunday morning, maybe Saturday afternoon, but really, like, it was basically 6 days of nonstop planning. That includes the broadcast coverage. So one of the camera angle that you're looking at earlier that is a little shaky is actually in the lead truck. It's not a camera that we normally have on race day, but we wanted to make sure we had coverage around the course. So we stuck a camera in the lead truck, and we stuck a camera in the follow truck, so you're going to get those angles for areas that we don't have static cameras. But again, like this first timing heat is at 6:45. So Elena, I mean, in terms of, I really want to talk to you about like planning this whole thing, and I'm curious, like, because you even said before, like the normal rain date is Sunday. That's the date that we have permits for. So what was the process like for getting these permits, getting Phipps Conservatory to either say okay or say, you know, nothing because we didn't ask them? I don't know. But like, what was the process for like getting everything set up for this second day or the second weekend?
It was a little crazy. I think part of the reason it was so successful is because everyone was very, very nice. So we didn't have permits pre-planned for the following weekend. But when it was starting to look like we might have to move for the following weekend, Stacy reached out to the city and explained the situation and basically asked, like, can we extend our permits? And we basically had to hope that there were no conflicting events. So there weren't any conflicting events except for the fact that Phipps opens at 9 usually, and they actually had an event going on that weekend. And so usually during Carnival, we have permission from Phipps to run races all the way until like 1 p.m.
Right now.
And that lets us have like 4 hours worth of races.
And, yeah, no problem.
But in these 2 days, we only had the same amount of time that we have our normal practice time, which is basically from sunrise to 8:50. And so we did ask Phipps.
I feel like a lot of these are doing a pretty good
had to
job
get permission from
isolating.
them. We had to get permission from lots of people.
Shout out.
And then we had to
noise
figure out how to
isolation
fit
technology.
as many heats as possible
Whatever you
in
call
a
it.
very short time
Yeah, I'm
period.
surprised you guys couldn't hear
Um,
countdown.
And so what we ended up doing
Now.
is
Looks like they're missing someone to
just giving
catch the
everyone
buggy.
one go, and we had open heat selection to try to make everything condensed as
We're
possible.
having fun here.
So you'll see during these heats that there's not
This is a-
like
this is a
men's
practice
heats
heat
and
for
women's
everyone right
heats. They are mixed together.
There we go.
And we did that to allow for, again, like I talked about before, the separation between
They dropped a
buggies.
roll of tape onto
Sometimes if you can't make
Alright, we about to
heats
go live?
within like
Alright, let me
men's that are
welcome
going to be all
everybody
well
else, and then we'll
separated while
jump in.
following all our heat selection rules, you actually have to break out and make more heats and have like lone buggy heats. And so we instead basically said, okay, we're going to try to expand the amount of range of times that we have by putting men's and women's together,
Hello,
letting
good
things try to
morning,
be as safe
Buggy
as
fans.
possible.
We are here
And
for
that let
bonus Race Day
everyone go.
2025. So here in this first heat, as it's
There was
coming up
also all
closely, we got
sorts of
Apex
other like
men's
planning
eight to keep
issues,
things
like
off.
we
They're
have
gonna be
head
a
judges
Firefly. They're
who
going against
do not live in
CIA
Pittsburgh, and so they were not able to
women's
come out, and
so we're gonna
so
imagine some
we had
separation there.
to
I
find
will
people
do my
to do all the
best
different roles that we
as a
had
journalist and a
previously
broadcaster to represent
had
both
people
buggies, but
out of
they
town
have been a
doing.
challenge.
And
So
I just want
like
to
you,
shout out, like, in
We
terms
got
of
both buggies being floated here at the
alumni
line. Roadrunner
volunteers,
for CIA,
faculty
Women's C, and
volunteers,
I think
we
that's
probably
Firefly for
had,
Apex Men's A
I
as
don't know,
we head
50
down
or
the
60
countdown here.
people who wouldn't normally
Sweet.
take
We
a
will again
role
be
like
giving
this
unofficial
in
times.
Race
There is
Day
no big
step up and
guidance
say,
sky,
yes, I'm willing to
but we'll
wake
try our
up
best.
and be out there at 7 a.m. on a weekend, on both days of a weekend, just to help you guys get a race day in. So a huge shout out to everyone who said yes
And
to
they're
that. And obviously,
here we
it
go, the
worked
first
out very
official heat.
well. Like, I mean,
Gabriel Hall
the
pushing
the
for
whole
Apex
production
Men's A,
was a success,
and
from my opinion.
Zaniolo
I would
going
agree.
for
One of the things I loved
CIAC.
most about the
And
alumni
honestly,
volunteers were the
not
ones
as
who were
much
willing to take
separation as you thought there
chores
might have
duties
been
from the
here,
teams.
with
So
Apex,
teams, in
definitely ahead
addition
of CIA,
to
but
racing and running all of
CIAC
their internal
not
operations, also
looking
have
like
chores they
slouches
do.
at all as
And
we
during
get
race
into
day,
that
there's
1-2
special
transition.
chores that involve like
And
keeping
here we go, we
spectators
are
off
off,
the
and now you start
course,
to see some of the
maintaining
separation between those two
barricades.
push teams.
And
Bit of a
for
shallow
this
shove
day,
there from
because
Apex.
everyone was on lower
CIA has it down
manpower,
too, and we are
and
into the
because we
three-roll
wanted
Firefly
everyone to
rolling
get
for
to experience
CIA
race
men's
day,
A. They're
we
taking a bit
asked for
of
alumni
a wider
volunteers to
line,
do
slowly
the
drifting
course
in
marshaling
towards
and
the curve
barricading
here
chores,
as we are going
so that
into the
all the
free-roll
teams could be
Roadrunner.
like
A good
completely
several
focused on
seconds
making the
behind.
races
Gonna be
happen.
trying my best to give you stop sign
And
times as we can,
that
as
was
I
super,
am
super
sitting in the back of a
helpful.
truck
So I want to interrupt here just quickly because this is the only spin we have in the entire bonus race day is that one right there with Apex's Firefly. A little bit of the behind-the-scenes fun for this. The reason why you don't have a great camera angle is the static camera that we had set up that would have normally captured that spot. We forgot to put the SD card in the camera. So for the first 6 or 7 races on Saturday, that camera didn't record anything. Once we realized that, we put the thing in, and so we will have footage later in the day from that spot. But it's a little unfortunate and a little weird that the one spin that we have took place in the one spot that we didn't have camera coverage for this like one heat. So don't think we're trying to hide anything. We tried everything we could to get whatever the best angle on that was possible. But in reality, it was just the lead truck that had it. So no conspiracy there other than, you know, just not knowing what we were doing when we were setting up cameras. We learned our lesson, though. The Sunday cameras and production, I feel like, was a little better. It's all a learning process.
Here we go, Hill 4, Indy Lee.
Yeah.
Nate, let me ask you, because you said you were a fifth year or a master student at this point also.
And let's see.
I was a fifth year last year.
Yeah. So obviously you're maybe not as involved in CIA as you had been the previous years, but you know, and obviously here you were participating in the broadcast in addition to pushing. I'm curious, like, in terms of getting ready for an extra weekend. I don't know if you were involved at all in what CIA was preparing, but like, how about you personally? Like, was there any special preparation that you had to do to get in the mindset of like, yeah, we're gonna do another race day? Like, race day didn't happen when we thought it was gonna happen. Now we're back to having actual schoolwork and like things to do, but we also have to get ready for race day.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, like you mentioned, I actually wasn't particularly involved with the team last year from like a logistics and like race day standpoint. So I think I did get a little bit of sentiment from the team that people were just like tired. There was a little, I would say, less excitement leading up to race day than there would have been for a normal race day, just because people were like, tired. They were like, oh, we got to do this again. Like, I thought we were going to be done. You know, you don't have the crowd and everything like that. It doesn't feel the same. But I mean, there was definitely a level of energy that I wasn't expecting when I was down there, you know, at the bottom of the hill and stuff. As far as for me, honestly, I think I ended up with a much bigger role in race day than I would have had if it had been a normal race day, just because there was so much scrambling, and you know, they just needed people on the ground for the broadcast and stuff like that who, you know, would be in Pittsburgh. And I think I personally felt more like I wanted to step up and also just like had more of an opportunity to, because, you know, the usual suspects weren't around.
Into Hill 2.
But yeah, I think CIA was, I know we had some of our rosters affected because people couldn't make it this weekend, but I think overall CIA was largely logistically okay. I think that tends to be one of our strengths, is just like how many people we have and how many streamlined processes and stuff that we have. Like, you know, we can just be up and at the next weekend, sort of, no problem.
Looking good, starting to curve,
barring the fact that people are just, you know, they put all their energy into getting ready for the last weekend, and like, I know 2024, like I literally, like we put so much energy and time and effort into like being ready for race day weekend. Like I like lost my voice and like had the flu or something the week following race day. Like I was just so knocked out from the actual prep for that weekend. So having, if I had had to go out again like as head mechanic or as head data or whatever, like the next weekend when I was actually super involved, I can imagine that just would have like taken a massive toll on me. But
yeah,
the team handled it well.
And we didn't say this before, but like not only did races happened on Friday, the all gender, and Elena said like the sweepstakes made the announcement earlier that it would just be the all gender, so at least like some of the pushers for the men's and women's teams could sleep in on Friday. But and races didn't happen at all on Saturday, but we all still showed up on the course in hopes that the rain would hold off long enough and that the roads would dry in time to at least get some races in. So I think we were still there until either 8 or 9 o'clock before we just realized that the roads weren't getting any drier, and then I think one more rainstorm came in and we just said, all right, it's too much now. So it's not even like people could just sleep in on Carnival week. Like you're getting up preparing for race day because there's still the chance it's going to happen, and then now it doesn't happen, but you can't really wind down. It really is, like you said, it's exhausting just doing it and thinking you're gearing up for one day and then finding out, oh wait, we gotta wait another week. It's like you don't really gear down, but it's hard to maintain that the whole time.
Yeah, I think my like commentary shift wasn't supposed to start until like 9:30 or 10 on Saturday, so I actually woke up and got the call that it wasn't happening, so I was able to sleep in and all that, luckily. But yeah, I mean, in another year where I would have been more involved, you know, I mean, I was around for 2022, where the second day was like, we got out there at like 5 a.m. and everything looked fine, and then at like 5:30 it started like thunderstorming. I just remember sitting like in our tent, like, I don't know why we decided, I guess we didn't want the tent to fly away. We could have just gone inside, but yeah, we were sitting in the tent, like, listening to the thunderstorm outside, sort of just like knowing what was coming, but we didn't have anywhere to go. We were already up, so. And yeah, I mean, we'd already had the first day of race day at that point, so it wasn't quite the same as like knowing we were going to have to go to the next weekend, but once you're already out there, you're already sort of in that, you've already got the adrenaline going, and like,
yeah,
it's hard to come down from that.
And one of the things you see here, the
half a second behind here,
maybe
but
I'm
some
wrong.
separation now as we go into
no,
the hill.
I'll save that for later because
push.
I am mistaken here. One other behind the scenes thing. This is my own personal mistake that I did not realize. For those of you who are watching this and do like video editing stuff, make sure you test in like multiple setups. If when you watch these Saturday races, when you hear the countdown at the bottom of the hill, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When I put that in, I did not realize, because I was not using headphones, that it was only going through one ear. So if I apologize to any headphone user if you only hear the countdown in one ear, I did it wrong. So I learned my lesson. That won't happen again. But just another little behind the scenes thing that you get with the non-production quality version of this, as opposed to the viewpoints and CMU TVs of the world that do these things.
Back on track.
I remember when the videos came out, I don't know, whenever they came out a couple months or so after race day, I was surprised at how fast they came out and just the quality of the stitched together videos from the races. Because I remember offering, you know, once I graduate, like once I'm done with exams, I'll help edit the videos together. But they were done before, like well before I was expecting, and by the time I was ready to help, they were already done.
It turns out when you don't have a life and just spend like 3 weeks straight just editing these things, you can get it done. But then you burn out on it, and then you don't want to, like, normally before these rewatches, I go back and watch the races, and I'll take notes, so I'll, like, point out things that are going to happen. Like here, Invisid kind of spun in the chute. I forgot that happened, because I haven't actually gone back and rewatched these things since.
Yeah,
so,
I do remember this.
You've probably seen this footage so many times, you don't even want to... look at it anymore.
Well, it's interesting. At some point, for those of you who are real deep buggy aficionados, at some point I think we're gonna release a multicam version of Raceday 2025 because we had 12 cameras. There's 8 static locations.
When we are able to see it.
Well, 9 static locations with the finish line, plus the 2 in the truck, and then 1 roving camera. So we have, and then drone footage as well. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 11, and maybe it was 8, 2, and 1, and then the drone. Either way, there are a bunch of different camera angles on things. The way we cut this together, we tried to make sure that you could see the buggies. So like, the bulk of the time you're seeing the lead buggy, and then if we have a camera that's catching the trailing buggy, you get that camera as well. So that's why you see like the split screen in some of this. But there is more footage that wasn't shown. So at some point, I think we are going to release a multicam version. That allows you, so I mean, obviously some of the boxes will be small, but you'll be able to see like, oh, here's what it looked like from camera 1, which I didn't see before because I was looking at camera 2 and camera 3. Because we didn't want to throw too many, at the end of the day, these videos are meant to be the race, so it's, too many cameras makes the screen too small, and then you can't even see what's going on.
Never thought that a rainy weekend would lead to Raceday 2025 all 22 footage, but here we are, I guess.
Exactly.
That would be cool to see.
Exactly. The one flip side to making this all volunteer and kind of throwing this together all last minute is, in a weird way, we've actually got more information and stuff and like video and data and all this stuff than we have in a normal year, because so many people were willing to help out and volunteer that we and we wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything, that we ended up like over collecting. Which, hey, I'm not gonna mind. Like, there's even not included in these heat videos is we did actually have a live stream both days. There were people on the course with cell phones recording different parts of the course, and so I think there's one shot of one of the videos in one of these heats that I will point out in the shoot, because it happened to be the best angle that we had at for that one moment. But otherwise, it's all, there's more collection here than we ever had before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also... Oh, go ahead, Elena.
Oh, no, I was just going to comment on this. So this is, I think, the first time we get the DQ of the year, which is 5-second rule.
Yes.
And you'll see that the countdown is happening and Fringe is not at the start line. That was our most common disqualification. There is a rule about the buggy has to be at the start line with only the pusher and no one else around it by 5 seconds to the race start. And if they miss that, they are disqualified.
Oh, and so I have to assume, and I don't know if either of you have any inside knowledge of this, but I have to assume that part of the reason for that, or maybe the main reason for that, on this Saturday and Sunday, was just because I believe it was 7 minutes gun to gun, so one race to the next race is only 7 minutes. On a normal race day, the shortest it'll ever be is 8 minutes. We usually try to do like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 is the ideal.
Yeah.
We had to do some weird stuff, including starting the follow car at a different location to make 7 minutes work. I will say most teams usually try to make sure that they are not doing back-to-back so that it's easier to meet the time. But when you're doing the buggy and like getting the driver in and getting everything ready and getting your wheels on and like you need to have the like timing on that down really well. And one little thing going wrong, like the driver getting flipped and taking slightly longer, can mean that you don't get the buggy out in time if you're cutting it very close. And so you'll see some buggies are hovering above the ground at the beginning of the race because they have like heated wheels and stuff. But other buggies that don't, they'll like show up to the line way ahead of time to try to like beat the DQ and make sure they're ahead. They're out with enough time.
Yeah, and you can hear in the background there Will Weiner, the voice of Buggy, if you will, getting very excited about that pass. One of the other things, and we will talk about this, I was going to save this to Sunday because, Nate, you did this, but one of the things that was different this year is instead of sitting at the top of the hill with a TV monitor in front of you to call the races, Will on Saturday and Nate on Sunday were actually in the lead truck watching from the back of the lead truck all the way around with a headset on calling the race. So, like, the view that Will had on that pass is certainly something that he's never seen before. Like, it's just a different angle, and from talking to him afterwards, it looked like, I mean, he even said it on the broadcast, it's like it was the greatest pass he had ever seen in his life. It was a very good pass.
Oh yeah, I was gonna comment on that after. Like, you can watch the drone footage of that. I mean, she takes her shoot turn like 100 feet early or something like that because she already knows that she's gonna pass blue ship on the inside.
Yeah, I will say that this heat was one of the ones that we used for examples as to why there's not this huge difference between the men's times and the women's times. And in fact, there's a lot of overlap from like the 2-minute 30-second mark to like the 3-minute 30-second mark for these teams. But having a faster buggy can really make up a lot of time. And you saw even there on the back hills, the CIA team stayed ahead of the Fringe team the entire time. And so that was kind of one of the biggest surprises for a lot of people was how little separation between the men's and women's times there was in certain heats.
Yeah, and certainly from preparing for this day, like, you would have thought that Fringe Men's C was going to easily, especially, it's not only is it a men's team against a women's team, it's a men's C team, which means it's Fringe's third fastest. There's a team slower than them in theory, versus CIA's women's team, which is the slowest CIA women's team. So, like, you would just assume, and you can see there there was, I guess, technically one drops DQ failure because the buggy did not stop there, but the team had already been DQ'd for a 5-second violation, so it doesn't technically count as a drops DQ.
It's like you could just list every single DQ that a team gets. They would have also gotten lane DQ'd earlier, I believe. But
yeah, they were racking up on that heat.
I think we had, because we had the head judge and sweepstakes had a text thread where we record like suspicious things to go back and review, and I think that French heat was the most submitted or most noted DQs. So for the way DQs,
go ahead.
The way DQs work behind the scenes, for those who don't know, is we put line judges at every line. We have a start judge at the start. We put a head judge in the lead car, in addition to sweeps chair in the lead car. We have all the footage, and the teams themselves can submit DQs. And so then we take everyone who's like on the course effectively takes notes on whether or not the teams are following the rules, and they can submit them to us to review. And so I've told the teams it's a very big brother is watching you sort of approach. And so frequently what'll happen is we'll go back and review all our notes and review all our footage and go and confirm whether or not there was stuff that wasn't allowed happening. And then we'll release the DQs list later that day. Some are really easy to tell. Drops DQs, 5-second DQs, hand on push bar. Those usually all get captured on video and are like obvious to the viewers. But some other ones like transition violations and whatnot are a little bit harder to see from behind the scenes.
And so I have to ask, because I've never been in the tape review process, but
a lot of momentum there. It looked like maybe
always
got smoked,
assume, like,
but it might have just been like, hey,
in
this
a
buggy's
normal
rolling, I
year,
don't need to do more
you've
than
got
I
all the
need to.
broadcast
Hand off
footage.
3 to 4
Sometimes
there.
you
Show
can
4
get
going
like
really
on the
fast.
spot
Will Fleming
replays of
for
the
Sig,
you know,
new
someone
men's
says
speed.
something happened.
Good-looking
You'll
team
ask
coming out of them
the production
for a
truck
B
to
team.
say,
I'd like
"Hey,
to
can
see
you
this.
queue up this
Hill
replay so
4
we can see?" So
really fast.
there is
As we
and
come
you
there,
know,
they're about to make
you've got
that
the live.
transition
You
with
can go back
the
to the
4
live stream.
to
There
the 5,
you can,
shoved
I
off.
think, immediately
Really
get
good
the
technique.
footage that you need to get
Nice
for that.
pushing being done here
Obviously,
by CMU.
this
Little bit of a
bonus race
wobble by
day
the Hill
didn't have
5.
any of that.
Joe
We had a bunch of
McLaughlin
cameras
there,
recording
getting
things.
back now
But
into a
like,
straight
did you
line.
have
Fighting, coming up to
all
that
of the
stop.
footage
That finish line.
for
We're at
tape
2
review?
minutes,
Were
20
you
seconds
able to
right
review
here.
it, or was it just like,
Buggy
you know,
coming
what
through,
people saw is
looking to get
how
the
we're going
hands
to
on the
decide
push
this year?
bar. Just
So
barely
there's
does. That's going to be close at 2:29.
two options
as they
basically.
pass.
I
There was
will
a
say
little bit of a
that
stumble
in general,
reaching for
the
that
footage we
push
have from
bar.
this is
Looked
not
like
too different
Joe
from the
McLaughlin
footage we had the
might
previous
have missed it,
weekend with
but
the
able to
main
get the hands on.
broadcast.
We'll have to make
Because
sure
what ends up
it wasn't
happening
a
is
fraction of a second late. Still
Matt
waiting on
Galabre's shout
SCC
out
Women's C as we cross
takes
over
like
2 minutes.
the flash
50
drive,
seconds.
or in this case, the bazillion
See their Hill
SD
5
cards
coming up.
of
Sophia Gu.
camera footage, and we all go into a room, and
Couple
he
folks
helps
still
pull up
left
specific
at that
angles
finish line,
for
cheering
specific
her
heats
on
as we
as
request
they
them.
come
We
to the
also
finish line.
have
Hand on the push bar.
camcorders at every
Thrown
single
across at
line.
about
So
a
like ye
3:07.
old
Again, we will give the
cameras
official time
at
when we
all the
know
transition zones
the
and the
official
finish
time.
line and the start line.
So it'll
Well,
be
we'll actually get to see an
recording
example.
them.
We'll get to see an
in some
example of
these
that, I
last
think, on
few
the Sunday
heats.
races with
A couple
Sigap.
heavy hitters on the men's.
We'll get to see what one of
well,
those looks like.
I can't read.
That's not
A couple
even
heavy
one of
hitters with
those
the men's with
cameras.
Pika A,
Because those cameras
CIA
don't go into the
last
footage
year's
from
reigning
this.
champions.
They just
And
are
then
ones
also
that
we'll have
Sweepstakes
SDC
owns.
Women's A
But they're part of
final
the
heat of the
kit
day.
for the
So you
line
gotta think
judges.
those will
So
kind of
there's
be
a
the
person
high
who stands at every
watermarks
transition zone
for the teams running tomorrow,
and notes
trying to get
down
their
when they
own
see people
victories.
miss the transition,
Weather-wise,
like, and doing
about
it
the same
improperly.
tomorrow, still
And
pretty
then we
chilly
go
in the
back,
morning,
we
so,
find
you know,
the
always
like
something to wonder if there would
second
be
of
a
footage out of
weather
all of
advantage
race day
between the 2 days, but
for
it
that
looks like
one specific
won't be
note,
too
and then we
much
review it and
variation
see
there. You know,
if
maybe
in
several
fact the pusher
degrees or
had their
kinda
hand on the
just
push
depends on
bar
how
over the line or
the
something
clock
like that.
works and the heat and all here.
The SIGAP one,
Well, we're
I
getting a bit of a
think,
breeze down at the start
is
line
just
now.
a
It's
sideline
cooling things
camera
down.
that we have
2 minutes to the
from,
next
like, it was
race.
one of the broadcast or quote unquote alumni
I will
operated
say
ones,
it is not
Okay.
as
like
opposed to
nice
the
out.
sweepstakes only ones.
It is
Gotcha.
chilly.
But
It's not.
A little
Yeah.
fancy.
anyways,
But they are racing.
so we still had all the footage.
I cannot
Before
get
you
over
have
how good
footage,
that was.
you also just have
that felt
judges,
surreal
and
seeing that.
their
Like,
word
it
is
was
law.
so beautifully
So there
done.
is a world where
in a way you really,
we would have
really,
had to,
really
like,
see
not
it.
been able
It's
to
like,
verify a
wow,
lot of
that
stuff,
was
and
scrambled my brain for a second. I'm
that
like,
gets
wait, they
uncomfortable.
weren't
We
the
like
lead
to
buggy,
try
were they?
to be able to prove every single DQ that we submit.
7,
So let me ask you a question here to Nate. What is it like seeing yourself on camera right there?
1.
I'm just glad I look like I'm enjoying myself. Sometimes I worry that
CIA men see
Whoa.
that I
lane
oh
one,
I forgot about that.
Apex
I did too.
What happened?
I remember seeing that from the top of the hill and just really hoping it wouldn't
driver
hit,
pulled
like
off
take
to
our
the side,
pusher's
so
legs
something
out.
weird happened there with Firefly. Goldfinch.
I don't think I asked him at
looking
the end. He
good.
didn't even notice.
CIAC
It was behind him, I
That shit is
guess.
very locked in.
So,
Yeah.
first I want to hear Nate. Like, what is it like pushing Hill 2 here? Like, what if anything is going through your mind? What's the preparation like for doing it? But then I do also want to know if Elena knows anything about what happened with Apex there.
And we're off into the free roll.
I mean, I was, I was a mechanic for 4 or 5 years, so I did a lot of Hill 2s. I didn't even think I was supposed to be on D team, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I was supposed to be like Hill 5. I got moved to Hill 2. I found out that morning, I think, or maybe like the day before. I was supposed to be on Hill 5, and then, when the rosters got shuffled for Race Day 2, I got moved to Hill 2. I think just because I had done so many of them, and everyone says Hill 2 is technique heavy. They just, put me on it. I mean, I don't know. I didn't expect much, honestly. It was, a C team, which had a bunch of, like, D team upgrades. I was just out there, like, it's my last year. I want to push on race day. I'll just, do my best. Felt like I was in, decent shape. at the time, so I just tried to have fun with it. I got to push Goldfinch, which was fun. And one of my favorite buggies that we built during my time there, so yeah, I wasn't stressing too much about it.
Kind of couldn't tell.
And look, you guys finished in the top 10, so
yeah, no, we finished way better than I think any of us expected. I think we held the top spot for like 4 heats or something like that. I never expected to see the team I pushed on at the top of any leaderboard, so that was fun for me.
That used to be my... No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to call out the actual time. They end up with a 2:27 here, which is incredibly fast for a C team, I would say. I think anything below a 2:30 is considered a quote-unquote fast time.
Yeah, I mean, I think our C teams from the years prior, I think we had a C team put up a sub 2:20 or something like that. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good time for the team that we had put together. I think we all overperformed.
They'll actually get over the push line and finish line is right then about a 2:26.
But yeah, one of my favorite things when I was a student back in the old days, back when they had the AFIO leaderboard, which neither of you have seen, I don't think, other than in pictures. Well, Elena, I mean, your father was around doing Buggy when that leaderboard was in place, so maybe you've seen it from that perspective. But
it looked really good.
One of my favorite things to do was have AEPI race in like the first or the second heat of the day, so that I would go take a picture of us in the top 5, because it would only last for those 1 or 2 heats. And then I would cut off, my picture would only end at number 5, so I wouldn't show the fact that 6 through 10 were blank. Just be like, look, we're top 5. That was one of my favorite things.
Not sure.
So yeah, this is a very weird situation where another proof that the driver is actually inside the buggy. I guess they just didn't attach the hatch properly. And so yeah, I don't know how the driver managed to stick their hand out, but it's a good thing that the driver did flag them down for that, so they could get the hatch properly attached. I can't imagine what it would be like rolling like that.
Sweet. So yeah, I just started the...
But yeah,
so it was crazy to watch from the bottom of the hill. I didn't know what was happening. I was thankful, that they didn't just go. You never know with some of these teams with who's pushing if they really know what's going on, and I'm just glad they didn't start pushing while the driver's hands were stuck out of the buggy.
So now, Elena, this is now we saw SIGEP with the hatch issue here. We saw Apex with the something happened in the last heat. I don't know if there is something that you can talk about. We've apparently briefly lost Elena, so she will rejoin. Her internet has died. But yeah, so this is... Oh, hey, James. Welcome.
Temporarily.
Do you
want to from outside the room?
Do you want to introduce yourself to the broadcast?
James,
I mean, there will be a 5-second violation.
Yeah, I got the on-road game 2025's bonus head judge. So,
or something for the driver.
Isabel was able to come out for the main carnival. I came in. Well, since I'm a local Pittsburgher now.
Weird wiggles there
Previously, I had been chairman for Raceday 2023.
Jonathan Youngblood picking up.
Awesome. So yeah, so if you want to step into the question that I was going to ask to Elena, which is, I don't know if there's anything you can share, but obviously we saw SIGEP here with what I assume is they just didn't, either forgot to attach the hatch, or something broke, or something happened at some point. But also we saw Apex just swerve immediately to the right and then stop. I don't know if you have any information about what happened with either of them, but I'm a little curious if you do.
One of the top times on the men's side, even without the
yeah. So what happened with Apex, which I think I'm at liberty to tell you about, since we found out through somewhat scrubbing the footage. So if you really wanted to find out, I'm sure you could do the digging yourselves. ended up having their right around, and then they ended up breaking actually long, and they ended up standing right before transition.
There again, that's from when they started, not from when the initial start.
Oh, is that the men's A, Apex men's A with Firefly?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was first Firefly.
Firefly, which was the buggy that spun earlier. Looked like there was something maybe with the steering or whatever. The driver just decided to.
Yeah, and we can actually even hear Will talking about it right now.
This is probably the first and only time a push team that I'm on will end up at the top of any leaderboard for any amount of time.
Sorry, y'all, I'm back.
No worries at all. I was just at James filled in for you in my question, which was about the SIGEP hatch issue and then the Apex kind of turning to the right at the start. I was wondering if you had any insight as to what happened there. But you conveniently lost your internet at that time, so you didn't have to answer the question. So I understand.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to bring up, because you mentioned before the DQ du jour of 2025 was the 5-second DQ.
Very fast looking Hill won.
The fact that happened, as well as some other questionable or unfortunate DQs that we will see coming up, there's actually a rule change this year that these are no longer necessarily a pure disqualification. There is now, for things that are not safety-related DQs. So examples would be the 5-second DQ we talked about, or I'm trying to think of what the other examples were. So like a lane violation potentially, depending on what type of lane violation, or pacing DQ, which we will certainly talk more about. All of these things, when they happen, they're at least beginning in 2026, they will now be time penalties instead of pure DQs. So if you're a winning team, if you have a first place time and you got to the line, your mechanics didn't get away from the buggy at the 5-second mark, you may not immediately no longer get anything. You now may fall to third or fourth, but at least your team is still acknowledged for the success that they had on the course, as opposed to this is a really silly reason to say that, if the mechanic got away at 4.9 seconds instead of 5 seconds, is that really a reason to say, well, no, your role doesn't count? It's like everything you did this entire year goes for naught.
Hill 3 for Kingston had a
yeah, I can talk a little bit about those, as Lewis and I sort of spearheaded and wrote that bylaws change at the end of last year. That was sort of my last mark on Buggy, I guess, at least for now. But yeah, I mean, I think over the past couple of years, there's just been a lot of
and Hill 5 looking very
what I would
fast.
call silly
James
DQs,
Kramer,
like things
SAE,
that really didn't
they
have much of an
do
impact
have
on the
some
race,
very
that result
men
in teams
on their
like
push team, looking at that
work
finish line,
being
crossing
thrown
over
out
2 minutes,
essentially.
30 seconds.
Buggy's
crosses
very
about a
one shot.
2:31.
You get one chance at everything you do, and yeah, we just felt like, to sort of match other sort of modern racing competitions, time penalties were probably
for a little bit
a good thing to try, at least, to see how it works out. We spent a lot of time looking at the wording of all the rules and figuring out how much the time penalty should be, what things should be time penalties, what things still weren't full DQs. So any and all safety violations are obviously still full DQs. Safety is the -- 1 priority, when it comes to the rules.
Really good down here.
But certain
Let's see, Chew still coming us over.
We had to, even though certain things, we feel like shouldn't, may not have impacted the race or shouldn't be, throughout an entire team's season, it's still important to make sure that there are rigid rules in place, and that, you don't want to leave room for people to abuse the rules. That goes against the spirit of what of any competition, and so we sort of had to toe a line between
in the free roll.
We don't want teams to be completely like destroyed because one tiny thing went wrong or one person was a few inches over where they should have been on just like that day. But on the other hand, it's still important to penalize teams for not following the rules, and that following the rules is part of the sport, right? That was sort of the argument for these DQs. So we'll see how it goes this year. I'm really excited I'm happy that it got passed through. And I'm really excited to see how it affects the races. Obviously, I hope no one gets any time penalties and that everyone follows all the rules perfectly. But should something happen, I do think it'll be interesting to see how it affects results, public sentiment, student sentiment.
I feel like the likelihood that there is no DQ or time penalty, like the odds that happens is probably about the same as the odds of winning the Powerball jackpot. So I'm hopeful for both, but I'm realistic.
That's why we need the time penalties over the full DQs, right? It's because they are things happen and they are unavoidable, and that shouldn't who it happens to and like these little things that happen. If you can avoid all of the major things, like you shouldn't get your entire season stripped away from your A team because your pusher's toe touched the white line a little bit. Like these things happen, and there are rules for a reason, but at the same time, you don't have to throw out an entire season.
Yeah, and it is at least a common assumption that it's not like the Buggy rulebook is a short rulebook, but every rule is in there because someone did something to try and abuse that. That someone is in often, many times, Pica. But it's certainly, also keep in mind, Buggy, if you are new, Buggy began in 1920, so this year will be the 106th year of Buggy races at Carnegie Mellon. Buggy has changed over time, both in what the sport is, the vehicles themselves, the athleticism, the divisions, like all sorts of things like that, but also just the student mentality. Buggy has always been a secretive thing. Teams protect their technology, their steering, their wheel technology, their obviously you can't protect the design because people will see the outside of it, but basically all the internal components, things like that, are often heavily protected secrets of those organizations. In the past, it's been much more antagonistic, much more aggressive towards each other. I mean, there have been teams have stolen other organizations' buggies in the past. Teams have. There was a team that actually got disqualified for the actual term was sabotage. There was a sabotage one. There was a collusion DQ one year where, a team was accused of colluding with someone else related to, I don't know. It was basically the mechanics of it's debatable as to what happened. There's some back and forth as to whether there should have been a DQ, but CMU, who finished second and fifth that year, was DQ'd for collusion, saying there was a mechanic from ATO who was giving them information that they shouldn't have gotten. So basically a version of an unsportsmanlike conduct sort of thing. But it involved spies on the top of Maggie Moe taking photos of the person exiting the CMU truck. And this is a third and maybe fourth organization doing that. Like that's why it is a much more collaborative, a much more collegial environment in Buggy. I think teams are still competitive and still want to win, but they're not doing it in a way that multiple Buggies have suddenly gone missing in the past because of other teams.
looking to get the hand on
I feel like the
bar.
culture right now is something along the lines of like we're also in a community together against the world, and so you want to win, but you don't want it to be at the detriment of other people. You just want to be better.
Yeah.
Like objectively.
Yeah, I think COVID kind of spurred that. I mean, just like being around in 2021 and 2022, like there was just a lot of questions about like how does Buggy even happen after COVID?
It's hard to tell.
And like
a lot of
that takes all the
on
teams,
just
you
kind
know.
of a weird, jumbled, jangled
Yeah, it's a big collaborative effort. I think people all going in not knowing what they're doing and having to rely on each other for more support than usual.
SDC and whatnot,
I think has helped a lot. I also think the teams that have started extending more support go a long way for like ultimately the entire environment becoming more supportive, because it's no fun when there's only like 9 teams if one team can't race at all. You don't ever want to eliminate your competition. We also want everything to happen on time, and so everyone helps out when like last minute chores emergencies happen, that sort of thing.
I've also got a cynical view as to why things have gotten more cooperative over time. I think there's a part of it that it's related to the fact that all that there aren't as many fraternities doing it. And there were, and when you look at like the fraternities of the '60s who were involved, you know, the ATOs, the Betas, the Pikas, Cygnus, etc. Like you're talking about a group of men who live. The way it works at CMU is like all of the fraternity housing. It's like one building that's split in half. So like you'll have these rivalries between these fraternities that go beyond just Buggy. Like it's a much bigger thing, and sometimes they really do hate each other. Like you'd like to think they don't, but like historically, just from my own knowledge, like yeah, people have there's been a lot of destruction. There's a lot of hatred amongst people in the past that I think boils over into Buggy and makes it a more hostile sort of thing. Whereas today, I think the fraternity culture has changed, so fraternities aren't as I don't know what the right word is, but they're not as hostile towards each other as they used to be. But also, I mean, but again, independent organizations don't have that same sort of everyday butting up against each other, except for maybe in their Buggy rooms. I guess that is also possible in the garages and things like that. But it is also just a cultural thing. Like things are different in the 2020s than they were back in the 1970s, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably for the better. But yeah, that is true that the sort of outside of the teams that with the lack of Greek representation, the teams that are doing Buggy are Buggy teams as opposed to groups of people who happen to compete in Buggy.
Yeah.
Which keeps the competition and the intensity to the races, and not stuff outside the races.
And it goes to that point that you're making, which is we are a Buggy community, right? Like it's Buggy against the world. So yes, you're going to have those internal rivalries, but at the end of the day, as you're gonna support your fellow Buggy person when they're competing with outside forces, right? Because Buggy is the thing that we're all here for. Heck, that's why the Buggy Alumni Association exists. And I think we've been, CMU's large network of the year like 3 or 4 times already, because there is a large community of people who did Buggy who love the sport and are willing to support anyone. It doesn't have to be their team. Heck, my team hasn't existed in Buggy in 10 years, and yet here I am, still trying to get them to come back and do Buggy. Hey, anyone from AE Pi, if you're out there watching, do Buggy this year, please. I will make it worth your while.
They tried. They're trying, I guess.
I
don't know.
They have certainly. Yes, I will give them credit. They have tried. They tried last year.
Both teams in that heat,
Tempest almost made a comeback under a different banner, but
fine as most teams have today. I don't think I've seen any drops, failures, or anything even close really so far today, which is a good sign.
But yeah, so this is. Let's see, where are we here? As we've been talking, and I haven't paid as much attention to the heats that are going on. So this is we just saw heat number 10 on Saturday. There are 5 more Saturday heats, which you'll see the letters start to get a little higher. So like this was a men's B and a women's B, but the next race will be a women's B and a women's C. But then the last 4 races of Saturday all have A teams, including both winners. Yes, both the men's and women's winning teams. Actually rolled on Saturday. I don't know that was necessarily expected, but that is how it ended up. And we'll talk about that a bit with the CIA Women's A on Sunday.
Still a DQ under the new rules.
yes, that one. And I gotta say, so the preview, that one, CIA Women's A was DQ'd for
their respective teams.
I don't know if it's technically. Yeah, it's a follow truck
Not
DQ.
having a person in the follow car with the extraction kit to get their driver out. So that happens.
Yeah, so there is
like the bare minimum.
That's why I'm not sure if the DQ is technically because there was no person or because there was no extraction tool. I know
you need the person as part of the extraction. You need someone who is knowledgeable enough to get the driver out. Obviously, like you want a situation where, like our safety chair Laura, she kept Allen keys and stuff in the safety car in case a team did not do their job and forgot, like during rolls, to have an extraction kit. But oftentimes all the ways drivers are clipped in, how the how the steering is in, whether or not it has to be removed, how the hatch is on is all pretty specific team to team. And so it's a lot faster to get a driver out if you have someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which can make a big difference when you have a driver who's spun out and very stressed.
Yeah, exactly. And here, I mean, this one is SDC Women's C, and I maybe poo-pooed it a little bit by saying it's not an A team, it's a Women's B versus Women's C, but in fairness, SDC Women's B is basically an A team and finished 3rd this year, so we are looking at a top 3 time. It just so happens that SDC as well as CIA are particularly deep teams, so their B teams would probably be A teams for most other organizations.
That's a perfect line.
Yeah. Now there's only a 6-second separation-ish between their A and their B team for women's this year, or I guess last year. Which
pick up on hill 3,
in truth,
pretty much ideal timing, ideal momentum
is stressful.
From the pusher, transitioning down,
especially since, for context, we've mentioned it a couple times, but because of the weekend change, a lot of teams lost parts of their rosters. There are also events going on this second weekend, and so a lot of the actual full times and full heats or full entries had not been run ever before. Whereas most teams, they try to run them to get reliable times and have an idea of who's fastest on what hill. There's all this push practice, and so a lot of these times were kind of unknown going in, given that a bunch of pushers just couldn't make it, and so everyone's teams had to be shuffled as a result.
Yeah, like Nate was even saying, he didn't find out until that morning that he was pushing a different hill for a different team. And if you're watching the broadcast, you will notice that Will is calling out names. In one case, the name of a buggy, but in several cases, including calling out Nate as having pushed Hill 5 when he was actually on Hill 2. Just because, again, changes were made at the last minute, and this was like I've said, not. It was a group of volunteers doing it, so we did our best, and that means that you get what you get, which is my own fault. I maybe didn't update the rosters properly for what we had, but even then, things were changing. So they are correct on the website now.
Changing. There was alternates changing last minute.
Yeah.
I think we kind of turned a blind eye to anything that might have been questionable roster-wise because we knew how much things were changing. Everyone,
oh my god, my knees hurt. I'm standing.
We were a little bit more relaxed about roster rules than we are normally supposed to be, but it was a special situation for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, again, the correct rosters. If you end up rewatching these heats at some point, and you're like, huh. Or you're a parent or something, and you're like, oh, my son or daughter was the one pushing here, but they said some other name. Just know it's now correct. If you go to CMUBuggy.org, you can see the correct rosters on the website. They're just not. They just happen to not be correct on the broadcast itself.
Yeah, that was a very
the rosters displayed on the videos, I think, are correct as well.
Yeah.
At least it was for my
yes, because we updated that after the fact. So the buggy names and the rosters that you see on the heats, those are the correct rosters. Had we done this live, they wouldn't have been, but because we were able to do post-production on these heats, those were the things that went well. If you're listening on a headset right now, you'll hear the things that went wrong, which is, I mentioned earlier, I'm only hearing the sound out of my left ear. This is one of two parts of the Saturday videos where it was just something happened with the audio feed, so I pulled it in from somewhere else and then forgot that it was set up in stereo and only coming out of one ear. So I apologize for that. It will, if you're listening in headsets, it will fix itself again in about a heat or so.
Yeah. I mean, on the rosters thing, we also have to remember that Will was sitting in the back of the lead truck going 40 miles an hour with sheets of paper, and he was very locked in and sometimes did make mistakes. There was one heat, I think it was the Friends C heat, where he kept calling the buggy by the wrong buggy name, and both me and James were sitting in there with it shouting at him the correct buggy name. So he'd be like, and Blackbird, and we'd shout Blue Shift at him, and he just didn't notice. There is human error to be had.
And I have to take the blame on that one. I'm the one who gave him the printed out rosters, and I accidentally typed in Blackbird. Yeah, so that was my own fault. Admittedly, I was doing it at 3 a.m. at a hotel room in Cleveland before I drove in on Saturday to bring those sheets and be there for race day. But admittedly, Will was very confused as to why the buggy was called Blackbird when it was white with a little bit of blue. So it was once he realized that it was Blue Shift.
Buggy name memorized.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think I mean, Will's a little further out from it than I was at the time, but I don't think I looked at that sheet a single time at the buggy names. I just looked at the buggies.
Yeah, well, that's why. I mean, you have more general buggy knowledge than Will does, so you would be able to do that. Will is more, and for those who don't know, Will is actually a professional play-by-play guy. So that's why he's the classic Anchorman thing. If you hand him a sheet of paper, he will read what's on that sheet of paper.
Yeah.
the rest of the information, even if he thinks it doesn't make any sense, he will assume what you've given him is correct. And I screwed up on that one. But I do want to. This is the most dramatic of any of the things that happened. I feel like during bonus race day.
It's a little painful to watch.
Yeah,
it is.
This guy doesn't. Feels like he's about to miss the push bar and dives for it, basically.
He does.
Or he stumbles.
The good news is
slides basically across the ground.
The good news is he gets the push bar before it crosses the finish line, so they were not DQ'd, and that move did save them 4th place and a trophy. So huge shout out.
He was okay too, right?
He was okay. I mean, he paid the price.
He kept insisting he didn't need like first aid too. Like we were there like trying to get band-aids on him, and he was there like, I'm fine.
Yeah, he was very scraped up, but ultimately, yeah, there was. If you were squeamish about blood, you probably didn't want to be around there. But ultimately, again, I think it's probably just, Band-Aids. Like, it's, I don't...
That was it.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah. But there were a lot of them, because he was scraped up basically his entire arm and side and leg, because he basically dove into home plate, but on asphalt instead of dirt. So, it's, not the most comfortable or pleasant thing to do, but hey, again, like, teams care. It is competitive.
Yeah.
Like, you want to win, and, the rule is you gotta be touching the push bar when it crosses the finish line. So, it's not the first time we've seen someone dive for it. It's one of the rare times that we've seen someone dive for it and be successful.
This is true. Usually they just kind of dive and miss.
Yeah.
Also, moment of silence for that driver who got like lifted up and slammed down.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a. Honestly, it looks like watching the video and admittedly, we had to be a little careful about which video shot we used of that. And so there are other views where you get a better look at what happened with the buggy. That buggy did, like, it's kind of like one of those vehicles with hydraulics. It's just like bouncing down the street. Lowrider. That's the thing I'm thinking of, right? I think.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that. Like, it bounces 3 or 4 times as it's going across the finish line. So I feel very bad for the driver, who I think was also fine. I don't even think the driver got checked out or anything. So I have to assume they're fine. But it could not have been a pleasant experience.
Not the first time in the last couple of years that a pipe buggy has got airborne either.
No.
We should probably focus on this heat. This has got our men's champions.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, so this is CIA Men's A with Emperor, a 2017 build.
Yeah,
2017 or 18.
Yeah, and
they end up putting up a 2:11 at the end of this.
Yep.
Which is the fastest time by far across all of Raceday 2025. The next closest time is SDCA, which puts up a 2:15.
Yep.
But notably, these are all slower than they would be in a different year, where, like, we're expecting... Normally we expect, like, CAA, SDCA to be pulling sub 2:10 times. But of course, with roster changes... It being earlier, everything being cold.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that we didn't mention. It is cold this weekend.
Yeah, it's cold.
Like, it was
really cold out. Yeah.
Like, not only was it early in the morning, that was the downside with, I think, the regular race day. Is if it weren't for the rain, it was actually pretty nice weather. Like, temperature-wise, it was pretty nice. This weekend was like barely like low 30s, I think. Like, it was
quite chilly.
Yeah.
You look at all the people in coats. Don't look at the Pike people who are shirtless. But, no, and it'll affect the speed of. Not only will it just like affect everyone's speed because everyone's cold, and make it harder to do mechanicking things. Maybe contributed to some of the 5-second DQs, but it also does legitimately slow down buggies because usually with the polyurethane wheels, you want the wheels to be warmer because that will give them like better, effectively like grip on the ground, and they will roll faster. And so the colder your wheels are, the slower your buggy will roll. And as much as teams can heat wheels, the beginning cold roads will cool those wheels down faster, slowing things down faster. And
the interesting thing, if you look at Emperor's wheels, that was something unique to CIA. Emperor was the first of their buggies to have this, but they debuted a larger wheel. Like if you look at the SDC buggy Lust that we'll see with drops next, or most other buggies on the course, they're significantly smaller wheels. Emperor's wheels are bigger.
Really nice.
It means correct me if I'm wrong, because I always get this wrong, but I believe what that means is it sometimes it takes longer to get up to full speed, and it can be maybe a little bit tougher to push, but it will retain that speed further. So when it rolls up to Hill 3, it will roll out further because the wheels have stored up that momentum that a smaller wheel doesn't. So it's the balance, it's the trade-off that you make for going with the larger wheels. Back in the 80s and earlier, the reason you would want smaller wheels is they were much lighter. Like, wheels used to be pretty heavy. Nowadays, wheels are pretty light, so I don't know. I don't even know if it may just be better to have large wheels.
Well, I guess we'll never know. I don't know.
But, well, in Buggy, if there's one thing about Buggy, it's that success breeds cloning. Teams will do what other people have success with, so CIA has now won multiple times with larger wheels. So it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe other teams try experimenting with that.
Yeah, I mean, we won with larger wheels. We've also, Kingfisher has put up winning times and taken home some trophies with the smaller wheels. And yeah, who's to say what really works? Emperor is, I think, by far our heaviest buggy, so it's there's a lot of conventional wisdom that may or may not actually be correct when it comes to these things. I don't want to say too much, I guess, but
I am of the opinion that no one really knows what makes a buggy fast. Like, as in, you can't. I don't think anyone who, if they came up with their quote-unquote idea of an ideal buggy, would be able to like accurately predict what is correct. Because all the teams know within their buggies which one is fastest, and most of the time they know why. But sometimes they don't, especially when you're looking at older buggies, deterioration, like maybe the reason is that your carbon fiber laminate is a little bit less rigid, and you might not be able to detect that, but that'll show up in energy loss during the roll.
Yeah, part of what was so cool about some of the stuff CIA started doing a couple of years ago, and that I was like in charge of my senior year of undergrad, was we started to see those effects, and you don't necessarily know why they are, but you get a lot more granular information about the speed of the buggy, the acceleration of the buggy, energy loss, and you can start to connect some of the dots on what's causing the phenomenon that we're seeing, as opposed to just like a grand this buggy rolls faster than this buggy, like time-wise, this buggy, like you can see different parts of the buggy affecting different parts of the course on a much more granular level, which I hope one day will inform teams and inform, much more specifically what makes buggies fast.
Yeah, I hope so too. RTK is definitely really interesting. I do also think that there's a level of it's hard to build a buggy to exactly what you're going for too. And so
with their Hill 5 pusher, he is moving
I think it'll be interesting to see in the next several years, as we both have teams that have been trying to build for a while and have been struggling to do so because that execution piece is really hard. And these teams that are experimenting with new build stuff every single year, like, can they actually narrow in on something faster?
Yeah, I mean, you see it a lot. I think just like the number one indicator of buggy performance, just generally, is build quality. You know, regardless of the design choices you make, as long as you're not doing anything egregious, your build quality really matters a lot. You look at buggies like, you know, Goldfinch pre-crash or Jaeger or like, you know, just like high quality builds that perform well immediately.
Hey, they can challenge Pika because
as opposed to, you know, some buggies that come out, you know, they kind of aren't not as you know, fine-tuned or as well polished as, you know, literally and figuratively as some of the competitors.
COVID, they haven't won on the women's side, have they?
Definitely, the mechaniking experience is one that it's like so many of the teams put so much effort into throughout the year, and it's kind of hard to tell on race day. But whenever you see buggies catch each other in the free roll, for example, or someone having a really, really fast rolling time, or a buggy that a pusher can push much further, those are all mechanical choices. And so
that's right.
It's really impressive on the teams that build and maintain the buggies, what they can do to get those little bits of an edge, because the free roll is usually over a minute. So if you want your buggy to be fast and you want your team to be fast, it matters a lot to make sure that you're optimizing that free roll.
Yeah, it's about half the race, a little less than half the race, right? So.
Again, we won't know who the winner is until races are done tomorrow.
And here, much like the CIA Men's A 2 heats ago, SDC Women's A here will end up being the winner of the women's heats, though they technically had the second fastest time of the day. As we mentioned before, and will mention again, CIA A women were disqualified for failure to have an extraction tool and extraction tool operator in the follow truck. But this was, in my opinion, this was nice to see for SDC. SDC, the dominant team of the 2010s, losing only twice, the 2015 women's races and 2016 women's races. The only two times that SDC lost for the entire 2010s. They won each of the men's. Oh, well. All right. Men's in 2010 and 2011. 2010, a controversial one. 2011, they did just lose. Turns out, Bonsai for Fringe was an incredibly fast buggy. A incredibly fast and short-lived buggy. But SDC, the dominant team of the 2010s, post-COVID, still came back in that first post-COVID year, kind of dominating, but then had some own internal organizational stuff. Did not end up racing in 2023, and so it's nice to see them come back and take not only the women's heats here, but also the all-gender race. So showing that they still, even if they're maybe not as dominant as they were in the 2010s, which honestly, from the spectator perspective, kind of nice. It's nice to not go to think that someone else has a chance, as opposed to just being like, all right, SDC is going to win. The real question is who comes in second. But it's nice to see that they are kind of back on top, and that they didn't lose what it is that they had through that entire dominant era of theirs.
The story will be, what time can SDCA finish with What
Yeah,
will
for
they
sure.
set it at? What will be the mark that the teams will be chasing tomorrow?
And Bane, of course,
Hill
the
4 to
purple
5
buggy here that
transition
they
is made
decided to
Elizabeth
nicely
Schaefer
fit
Aaron
a
Daggett.
golden
We cross
windshield.
now over 2
I'm not sure what the
minutes,
rationale
20
behind that was, if
seconds
it's just
on
for
the
sun
backside
protection
of
or
Hill 5 here.
they thought it went well with the
SDCA giving it
purple,
all that
or
they got.
they just wanted to be
get a
flashy.
championship. Will
But
they be able
Bane,
to do it?
built
We
in
will have to wait till
2011,
tomorrow and see, but the time that
has
they are
won
going to post
a
as they
number
come
of
across
times. 1, 2,
is
3,
about
4.
a
I'm counting 5, 6, 7, 8.
2:37.
This was
2:37 right
Bane's
there out
ninth
of
victory
STC
in
Women's
Buggy.
A.
Wow.
So that will be
That's 1,
the 10
2,
pending drops
3,
in a few
4,
moments there.
5,
So
5 in women's and
fast,
4 in
but not
men's.
crazy fast. Waiting here for
I think
Hall
the
of
golden windshield has been passed along to
coming out.
Lust, actually.
Yeah,
Well, first of all,
crazy time
welcome, Jazz. Would
overall,
you like
I
to
think,
introduce
at least.
yourself?
I know things are slower than last year, but
Oh, hello.
definitely
I'm
not crazy
Jazz. I'm
compared
the
to their
current
time
safety
last year. I
care.
believe they're at
Yay.
like a 2:32,
I will be
2:33.
graduating, though, so in
Yeah.
the spring, you guys will have Victoria.
And again, it is cool. Things are moving
But yeah,
a
I
bit
have
slower.
I have seen.
We will
If
see
you go to
how,
cmubuggy.org, we've got
how
photos
weather
from this year so
influences
far,
things
and I have
tomorrow
seen the
being
gold
slightly
windshield
more
on
cold.
Lust. I don't know. I feel like I also saw it on
Yeah, you have to
Bane, but
wonder
maybe
if
Bane
teams
hasn't
were
been out
thinking
this
about
year.
which
That's also a
side they thought
possibility.
maybe
So,
they'd be more competitive on, and whether you'd want to give them that extra
Bane has
advantage
not
in the
been out
day,
this
or
year.
all right, then
maybe
I've
you're trying
only
to
seen it
optimize
on
At
your
least,
Lust.
team. I
unless
don't
I
know.
have caped
Everyone's
the
got
buggy
different
and
strategies
completely
and
forgotten
what
about
they
it,
value.
but I don't think it has caped.
I would trust your knowledge of that over mine.
As of now, have any word or necessarily belief
But
that they are
speaking
happening.
of this year, by the way,
wow,
if you
this
are
has
watching
been a
either in the
thrill,
room
pretty
or at home,
wild.
this morning
Again,
we had mini race day.
we have a whole
We
day
had some
tomorrow
live coverage of it.
more of these. So we have some top
Rain
times that
delayed
other
it pretty
teams will
much,
be
so we didn't get a
chasing.
lot of
top teams to
racing.
come tomorrow, so a lot
But
of
we did
drama, a
have
lot
we
of
did have some
excitement
buggies,
in a
and
race
for the
day
first time
we've
ever
never
for mini race
experienced
day, we
before.
were rolling
Like I
in
mentioned,
some
I
two
started
buggy
my
heats.
stopwatch a tiny bit
So
slow,
we
so
did have some
SDCA there,
actual
2:39.
buggy competition this morning. It is, you can rewatch the live stream on
Very much
our
open
YouTube
for
channel,
other
CMU
teams to
Buggy,
come up
the
and
CMU
claim
Buggy YouTube
that
channel.
top spot.
You might have
Yeah,
to jump
definitely
ahead a
not
bit.
as much
We
of a
we
gap
were
there
live
with
for a
their
little
B2 as
while,
what I was
just
expecting.
getting technical issues fixed. So it's really the last 45 minutes or so of that video. But you can get some footage, nowhere near the camera coverage that we have for an actual race day. But we had a couple of people come out and
thank everybody who made this
a couple of students, I believe, take over the broadcast and did a great job this morning. So I don't know, there may be something tomorrow as well. I don't know if we're doing a broadcast for it, but there may be more racing tomorrow. So if you're in Pittsburgh and want to come out for mini race day tomorrow, if the weather holds, I think it's about 6:45. Feel free to come out, and there's donuts. There will be donuts and coffee.
They'll also be available to the judges.
There's also I guess while I'm here today, we're also the Buggy Alumni Association also has a sweatshirt that we're selling. Today's the last day of the sweatshirt. It's a really cool design by Sam Connor, and I don't remember what the link is. I should know that.
Hopefully there's no issues with that, but there's definitely
Let's try this.
Link should be cmubuggy.org/merch.
Yeah, cmubuggy.org/merch. You've got one more day to purchase, so if you want to do that, make sure to go on today. There's two different color options. The design on the back is really cool. So I highly recommend it.
But creating some separation on Hill 1.
So anyway, so we are transitioning now. That was the SDC women's race was the last Saturday race. We are now on Sunday morning. It's the same basic thing. It's Sunday morning, and Sunday had to be done a little earlier, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Right, Elena?
Yep. Fitz had an event that day.
Yeah, so there were fewer scheduled heats for Sunday. I can't remember if we started slightly earlier. The problem is you can't really start before the sun comes up.
No,
so
we started at the same time.
Yeah.
staying sort of right.
It's really, I think we
that
started
bike
as
line,
early as it
basically
was
paint
possible
line,
to start,
a little
and
further
then
from the curb,
went
but
from
sort of
there.
coming in and
But
tightening up that line now.
Yeah.
definitely
bit of a windy day out,
thankful
so we might
that
be seeing some
there
of
were
that.
not any
Can't really
incidents
see Apex in the
on
background.
Sunday
delayed
because
us.
because if there were
1:05 here
incidents,
for
not sure we would have gotten everything in.
Serif as we get to the
We
transition
did
so
also like put in a decent amount of
Very
buffer
nice
time, but yeah, we had to be done
transition
by
over into
like
the
gone by
second set of bike
8:30,
lanes approaching
and
the shoot turn
so
now.
we
So
had
really
it
see
set for our last scheduled
I'm
thing to
seeing
happen at
Sarah
like
rocking
8,
the pink this
and then
year.
we had time for like a reroll, but we
Nailed
were
the
sitting
line.
there hoping that nothing
Have
would go
fun,
Yeah,
wrong.
Here
And luckily we
comes
didn't need
Molotov.
any rerolls, and that helped a lot
Yeah.
with the
Taking a
And,
turn.
confidence, the ability to get through everything.
pretty good pickup for this.
And now,
03 pusher
because
from
this is
Spirit,
Sunday,
kinda
Will
knew there was
Weiner,
gonna be a lot of pushes
our
on this 03
traditional
though, but
play-by-play
pretty nice
broadcaster,
blowout, all
had
things considered,
another
for a
engagement,
early
so he
morning
was not
timing heat.
available. So Nate
Coming up on the
kindly
3 or
stepped
4
up
transition here.
into the play-by-play role,
And
which
Molotov's
I have to
getting
tell
picked up
you,
right now. Nice job,
I've
Apex.
done commentary for Buggy, and I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and I'll do this
Hill
sort of
4
stuff.
pusher here
It
for
is
the
so much
Spirit.
easier to be
Supposedly
like
drivers, but
a
maybe just an
commentator
exhibition
or an
heat.
like the color guy, where you can just
Looking pretty
talk
fast,
like
coming
you can talk about facts
at-
and
I don't know
whatever
if I
you
see a
see,
Hill
things like
5
that.
pusher
It is so much
waiting
harder to be a
for the Buggy. I
play-by-play
assume they'll
person, where
have
basically
someone come
you
out,
have to describe everything that's going
Hill
on
4 can just get a
for.
good shove at the end.
Yeah.
In case you don't know, this is not only a video broadcast, it's
So
also
it
a
is
radio
not
broadcast, although
unknown
it wasn't this
or
year. But in
un-
general,
this has
it is
happened
also a
before,
radio
but
broadcast.
sometimes there
So
have
like
been
you have
drivers
to
that
describe
switch
everything
on
that's
their
going
team's
on,
Women's A,
and especially
which
here
is
where
a fun
it
historical
wasn't
fact
officially a radio
and one of my
broadcast, but we
favorites.
didn't. The video you're
I don't
seeing
think
was
that's happened this
recorded
year,
and
but it has
uploaded
happened in the past.
afterwards.
Yeah,
We
he's
didn't
gonna
have
do those
any of this
fast.
video
Looks like there was a
live,
Hill 5 pusher.
so
You can't
Nate
really
is
see
basically
the
the
finish
Nate
line
and
from
Sophie,
here,
who
but
was
they're
down in
gonna
the
be
chute,
coming
are
across
basically the only two people
around.
who are able to let
They're
the
almost there.
world know what's going
Coming
on.
across 3 minutes right about now.
So first of all,
And
Nate,
that's gonna
let me just say you did a
be
great job at
around
it.
a
So
3:05
congratulations, like
for the
excellent
Spirit
work.
drivers
But
squad
I
here.
want to know, because I mentioned this earlier, but the big difference
Apex.
with this than a normal day is instead of sitting in front of a
see
TV
them
screen,
yet, but I think they're-
you're actually
hear the
sitting in the
team
back of the
cheering.
lead
Seems like
truck
they're coming up to
watching
the
the
end
buggies
of the
go
hill
down
here.
behind you.
I accidentally stopped
What's
my
that? What was that
stopwatch
like?
Instead of splitting, so I'm not exactly
I mean,
sure what
it
that
was
time's gonna be.
it was a really cool way to watch Buggy.
So
I
interesting
mean,
note I'm getting
I
from down here at bottom of Hill 1.
as a mechanic
Apex's
and like
Buggy
as
is
you know
going to
very
roll in the
involved
next
and
hill.
like senior
They just
mechanic,
called
especially
4
during most
minutes,
of my
so
time
they've
on
gotta get
CIA,
fixed
like
sometime soon. Get
I
down
had
here,
never
do
even
drops, and
gotten
get that
to
Buggy back
watch
to the line.
like a shoot turn
Yeah,
live
it's gonna be really
until I
tight.
think the all gender day of this year. Like I
Putting
never
the
actually
Molotov
was down
driver
by
to
the
work.
shoot watching the buggies. I had done maybe one hill 3 at
And,
rolls or
if
something
they
like that,
just
but
called
so
4
I spent all my
minutes,
time in the tent. It's just
I'm
like a
not sure if
completely
they added
different
time
way
to the gun-to-gun,
to see the
but
buggies
that'd
roll. You don't
probably be
really know
around a
or understand how
4.5
fast they're
minute
going until you're in the
course
back of a
time
truck
total.
going just as fast as them.
Very nice
And it's
showing
like
from
30
both of
degrees
these
cooler in
driver
the truck than it
squads.
is outside, and you feel
for
like
our
you're gonna
timing
fall
heat
out of the
here.
truck because it's going 40
I
miles
want
an
to give
hour.
a shout out to all the senior drivers
But yeah, it's
and
a
all
really
the
really cool
seniors
way to
involved
see
today. Really soak up
the
this
roles in the
moment
races.
and
And it
your
was
roles,
good that the driver
and
did a really
you'll
good job of
be
making sure that
with BAA
we could see
next
the
year
front buggy
and
pretty
years
much the
to
whole
come
time.
on the other side of it,
Um,
but really cherish
Yeah,
Our
it-
lead and
moments
follow
today.
car
It's gonna be a
drivers
great
are
day.
really
So I've
experienced,
got my eyes on drops down
and
here. Seraph
they
just
put a
passed
lot
with
of
flying
effort into
colors.
keeping
Apex is coming
everyone
down
in
to the
view.
line, so they'll probably have about 30 seconds
Yeah,
left
it
to get
was
their
it
buggy
was
to
a
the
really
line by the
cool
time they're
way
done with
to
drops.
see Buggy. I
But
kind of wish, yeah, I think
Yeah,
Sunday,
they seem to have saved
not like
most
a
of
boring
their
day, but I don't think there
A
were
and
any
B
like
teams
passes or
for
anything like
today.
that.
So it's good to
I
see
didn't
them
get to
off a
watch
strong
watch
start
anything
even in
exciting
timing
like
heat.
that from the follow
I'm
truck,
looking
but
forward to seeing
even
it.
just seeing the
It looks like we
drivers,
do
I
have
think the
official
the most
times
exciting
of
thing I got
the
to watch was
exhibition heat.
Pike's
The
women's team.
Spirit drivers
But
3:04.77 and the Apex drivers
it was a really cool
3:57.86.
experience to be back there and
yeah, they literally just did a pirouette
see it
down
all
here at the
up
up close.
Hill, and they just threw it up.
You can like
line.
hear the
They've got
buggy
a mechanic
rolling.
holding it
I want
now,
a big shout out to Holly Hippensteel and Joanna Dickert, who are the
somebody is coming
normal
up to push this buggy. I'm not sure that it's a woman's
lead
pusher
truck
for their
drivers.
team,
I don't know who drove the lead. I don't know if they drove the lead truck or if someone else did for this day, but they're the normal lead truck drivers. And I got to tell you, yeah, go ahead.
We had the same group of people driving. They came back and volunteered a second weekend. because we use the same tracks from
today
Ford,
on this hill,
and
which is
there are a
amazing. They're
very
pulling out to a
limited
pretty
number
big
of people
lead
who
here.
are allowed and approved
Yeah,
to
the
drive
Apex
those tracks.
men's D pusher here,
And so it
Gene
was
Young,
kind of like,
making
there was some
some
shuffling as to
separation,
who sat
waving to the
where
fans
a
in the
little bit,
crowd. We love to see
but we
that,
had
having
this
fun on race
two
day.
of the same
This is Buggy
drivers.
after all. It's fun.
And we
As
had, I
Gene
think,
here comes up
someone
on the 1
new
to 2
doing
transition.
spotter,
Big
which
shove
is the
off
person who leans out of the
to
passenger
Ethan
seat looking
Kane,
backwards to
taking
tell the driver
Molotov
how
out
close
to
or
hill
far
2. Let's
away
see where the shove is. I
the
can't quite
thing
see
is.
burnout
Anyways, I
right
think
now.
that was it. There was
And
some sort of
Now they're
swapping
just going into
going
the
on, but
transition.
we
It
had to
was a
keep
solid one,
most
but
of
they're
the
a little
same
behind.
people
Yeah,
just
just
to be allowed to
Ethan
use those
Kane,
cars.
And I got to tell you,
there,
I've
doesn't
obviously
quite
never
catch back up to the
driven
Buggy,
a
doesn't
lead
get
truck.
the
I've
huge
sat in the
shove
back
off,
of a
but
lead truck
Molotov
one
is
time.
rolling nicely here, crossing over the double yellows.
But
I
I've
think
watched,
I see,
as the Buggy
burnout
Alumni
in
Association
conditions just having the
archivist and the
crosswalk.
one who
Oh, I forgot to start
uploads
my
all the stuff to
timer.
YouTube, I've watched a lot of
It's all
Buggy
right, mate. You're
videos,
doing a great
especially keep
Molotov
your eyes on
keeping
that
real tight
channel
to the
because
curve
we've got a
here,
lot of
as we
video
approach
from the 80s and
paint
90s
lines
that's
and
going to
the
be
stop
going up
sign.
that people haven't
Looking
seen
pretty quick
before,
for,
but
especially for a
I
D team
now
here.
have, and I got to tell you, there have been years
Coming up on
where
the
the lead
transition
truck
now,
driver
Apex Flagger
is
reaching out over the curb with that
not doing a
orange
great
flag
job,
and
where, in
sort
fact,
of
one
crossing halfway
year,
through that green box that
Pika actually got
fans
a
may not be familiar
re-roll
with from past years,
because
as
they got
Apex
too
taking
close to the lead truck,
sort of a closer
where she had to
Mhm.
deviate from her line
line
because she
coming into
thought
the
she was
chute. What
going
are
to
you looking
hit the
at?
back of the lead truck.
Hello again,
So
Molotov.
think about, like, if you're driving a car, like, think
My
about the fact that
line
you have to
made
drive a
through
car,
nicely. Here
but
comes
you're
burnout.
focused on the thing that's behind you. But you also have to be
speed
paying
loss
attention
here
to what's
for
in front of
Molotov,
you
the
so
hill
that
3
you,
pusher.
stay on the
Running
road and don't
backwards a little bit
hit
to catch up to
people
it.
and,
Let's see what burnout's
drive a
gonna do.
car. But you can't get too far
And
ahead
maybe
because you need to be able to see the thing that's behind you.
Looks
But you
like
can't get too
she
close
did not
because the
burn
thing
the
that's
three-
behind
hill-
you
hill
can't
three
hit you.
pusher.
There's so much that has to go
great
on
pickups from both.
as a lead
Much
truck
more
driver.
speed on that,
It's
on burnout coming out of
it's
the chute than
crazy,
on
and
Molotov,
the
but
job that they
Apex
do
pushers still
really is
separating
incredible.
a little bit from Fringe, who aren't that far behind. The 3-4 transition
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
coming
got to
through
be a
for
really hard
Apex.
job. I can't imagine.
And
I
yeah,
will
more
say on
capes here on the
Saturday
back
there was
hills
some
for this Apex
jerkiness
D
in
team.
it, and when you're sitting in the back of
I
that,
have
you
to imagine
feel
the
it.
wheels on those Apex
Yeah.
buggies
And
are
so,
colder than I
like,
am right now.
the current
No
drivers who've
time
been
to
doing
swap
this
them
for
out even in
decades,
the
they're
tank.
very
Coming up
good
here
at
on
it
the
being
4-5
a
transition for
lovely
Apex.
experience. They have a really good
Gonna
sense of
be,
where on the course they need to speed up,
Jared Block
where on the course you need to
taking us
slow
home
down.
for our
Anyways,
first competitive
I
heat
do
of the
highly,
day,
highly
as I
recommend to
see
anyone who gets
burnout
the
on the
opportunity
horizon
to
behind them,
ride
finishing
in
up
the lead
hill 4.
truck. The BA does an auction for it every year, and I highly recommend participating.
Apex team
I've done
hyped
pushing.
up right
I've
now
done,
for their
like,
D
I did
team.
follow car for
It's exciting
Apex for
just to have
several years,
4
and I
teams
still
out
think
here,
lead truck was probably
especially in
the
a year like
coolest
this. Gonna be coming
vantage
across the
point
line
from which I've watched buggies
in a
roll.
couple of seconds here. I
Oh, yeah.
don't
I
have
mean,
the
for
time
sure.
for
I'm
you. I'm sorry.
very glad
But
that I
maybe
got to
just
do
the
it
4-minute
for
car.
free
They're at
for
about
so
3
many
minutes
heats.
right now.
All right, so it's gonna be
Yeah,
about
this is the real reason to
3:02
become sweeps chairs. You
for
get to sit in the
Apex
lead
Men's
truck.
D.
And you just have to
Fringe
suffer through
Women's
all the
C,
logistical
Hill
stuff the
5
rest of the
still
year.
coming. That's
But you get to sit in
Anna
the lead truck
Capella.
for all of race day.
I think that's
Fringe.
worth it.
Not
You
quite
know,
as
it's
big
just
as
it's
occurring to
worth
me.
it.
at the finish
I
line,
said
but
I
still
sat in the
excited
lead
for
truck
their
once.
pushers.
I haven't sat in the lead truck. That
And
was the follow truck back when I was a buggy
she's
chair.
looking
But like
fast
that's
coming up.
I have never
little
sat
It's
bit
in the lead
on
different.
truck.
the right
It's
side.
I've done follow truck several times
Probably
as
sticking to
well
that
on
bike
race
lane
day
line to make
when I
sure that the
was
buggy's still going
one
straight.
of Apex's like
Coming
lead
across
mechanics, and
right about now.
it's
Great
just
roll
so
for both
much
teams.
more different when you
They'll be
are
about a
going the
3:40
speed
for
of the
Fringe there,
faster of the
based on the
two
start time.
buggies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always look
Like
really,
that makes
really
a big
nice and roll
difference.
really nice.
Well,
I
and
will say,
Congrats again, Fringe.
no, go ahead.
you don't
All right, we've got
notice
eyes
on
you
the
don't
drops
notice the
again
difference
here,
in the
and
teams as
Molotov
much.
comes
So
to
if
a
you
stop.
want to get your
Maybe not
lead
as
truck
fast as last
experience, I
time,
would
but
recommend bidding
still
on some
quite
of the
good.
lower ticket items
Brake and release
perhaps.
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, when sitting in the back of the truck, you don't really feel the difference
Brian,
between
I've got eyes
30
on
and
dropped here
40
for
or
burnout.
25 and 35. So it's a cool experience regardless. Maybe you can go and watch your old teams like C Team or something like that. You don't have to pay $300, $400 to do
that
it.
It will stop. I think they'll be fine. They usually
Yeah,
do
and
great
the
jobs.
Or you pay that much money and it would go to the BAA.
Yeah,
that's true.
It
That's
is.
true.
Solid
It
stock,
is.
not
It,
halfway through the zone.
it is tax deductible. It is a
Relief.
donation. So
Yeah.
it is a
I'm
donation to
sorry,
a
I didn't mean
nonprofit.
to- I
So
didn't
like
mean
all
to
that
try
stuff.
to discourage donations.
Right?
No, but it's a very good point. And keep in mind that like
just to give you the
it's not even we talked over it when it was happening, but if you go back and watch the CIA Women's D, Fringe Men's C, when Will gets so excited about the pass, that's a C and a D team. It's probably not super high, like in terms of bidding on that lead truck. It's probably not a super high amount. But if you manage to find a race that's close, like Nate's saying, like he didn't get to see that much that was exciting, but it's still a lot of fun. But if you manage to get one of those exciting heats where you see a pass, I mean, it's a view that you never get to see.
Wobbly on the hill one. Yeah. Really wobbly on the hill one. And you never know which heats those are going to be. I mean, CIA men's and women's D teams have been making for exciting heats pretty much every year for the last 3 years now.
Kenny Huang coming up on the
just on like random chance, basically. Not
who takes a big tumble.
He gets back up and catches it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
As a career men's D driver for CIA, I can attest that men's D is exciting. But also, shout out Lucy Knox for passing in the chute as women's D last race day. That was
that's it's exciting to watch. It's probably exciting to do. I imagine it's also a little scary to do. But I would think that's true of most things when you're driving, right? It's mostly exhilarating and maybe a little bit scary, but that's what makes it so fun. I'd like to think that anyway. I have no idea. I'm too big to drive. One day. Gluttony. I might be able to fit in Gluttony.
So a little slower than you might expect from
Gluttony still you might be able to fit in the other one too.
Yeah, I saw there is a photo of a fringe version of Gluttony. I'm confused. Is it a feet first buggy?
Fans, we got some Spirit alums out here.
It is feet first. It is feet steered.
I don't know that I like that. Feet first, I'm fine with, but I'd want like a steering wheel. I don't know that I trust being able to like make the turn if I have to use my feet to do it.
A steering wheel?
Yeah, like a car.
It's a steering handle.
Yeah, a steering handle bar. Either way.
He's looking quite fast.
Just something with my hands. I wouldn't trust like, oh, turn right. All right, I'll push my right foot down. Like
coming across 2 minutes here.
I just feel like I wouldn't have enough control.
Right. Yeah.
But
202, 203 as we come to the 4-5
hey, you never know. I mean,
I'm told it feels surprisingly intuitive.
Jamari, Tucson.
Okay. They built it. Like they know what they're doing. And it's big enough, and I think, knock on wood, cheap enough that like you could. If they didn't think that worked, it wouldn't be that hard to do something different.
Around a 229.
But one day we'll get the big buggy division where you can have Gluttony and Fringe's new buggy and all these things just compete in. I don't know, maybe a race for who's slowest on the course. Either that or just like who can get the biggest driver around the course. Maybe that'll be what it is. Or they just do what I've always wanted someone to do, which is offer buggy tours. So you have like a trained driver driving the buggy, but then you can be like a passenger on like a second deck or like alongside, or like a sidecar, anything like that, where I don't have to be trained, like I don't have to go through capes, I don't have to be in charge of like doing it, but I get to experience what it's like to be a driver.
All right, we got eyes on drops down here. Seraph has,
but I imagine that's probably a little more complicated to pull off. So, but hey, one day buggy tours. That's
hopefully we'll see continuation.
Keep that in mind, people out there who are building buggies. You know. Offering buggy tours there's a demand for it, even if that demand is just me.
A stop sign as a stop flag for CIA here for drops, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
Wondering if they still.
Well, let's see here. We've got drops again. I've always appreciated CIA's little tiny handheld drops flag. Most teams just use one of their normal flags, and then on race day when all of their flags are down, flagging. They will always use like shirts or something.
Third one is golden CIA.
Yeah, to me,
really common for people not to think about the fact that they're going to need a flag for drops on race day until it's happening, and then have to literally like
sort of brings
take someone's like sweatshirt or something.
See, I don't think it's not thinking about it. I think it's intentional. It's tradition at this point to use a shirt or a sweatshirt or something. as your drops
This is true.
flag.
This is colored by my own experience.
Anything to hide
When
those
in
trade
Race Day
secrets.
2021, we didn't realize it until literally last minute, and I took off my pusher jersey and used it. So I suppose I am biased there in my take.
9.
There was definitely one year where we had people fighting over whose shirt would get to be used.
2.
We had like 3
Whoa.
people like taking off their sweatshirts and shirts and handing it over, and so the person who was holding it got to choose which person they liked the best.
Yeah, you can hear it everywhere. This SIG-Ep men's speed pusher looking very fast on Hill 1, creating lots of separation from Katie Kress on French.
Arjun, would you use my shirt?
Schweitzer giving a nice transition shove
Yes,
to the Hill 2 pusher.
absolutely.
Just did a 16 or 17 second Hill 1 on their
You can hear Connor impressed about how fast SIG-Ep B's Hill 1 time is. SIG-Ep really did have a monster performance this year, and again, like it's a little unfortunate that, and we'll talk about it during the men's A race, that they were DQ'd from a second place time. But it's honestly, like, the fact that they were as fast as they were with all 3 of their buggies. Like, I mean, Kraken finished. It's a 225 they finished with. They were 8th, which is really good for a B team.
Yeah, SIG-Ep showed up last year for sure.
We actually gave them a Most Improved award because, for those who weren't aware, the chairs of SIG-Ep were both sophomore pushers. They had one person, also a sophomore, who knew how to mechanic. They didn't really roll in the fall, and then we had so few days of rolls in the spring, and so there was like genuine concern that they weren't going to be able to like
happy to be here at Buggy.
have everything together enough, basically. But they kind of cranked everything into a whole year in the spring and pulled out some very, very fast times and had a lot of people supporting them. And just by looking at this year's mini race day times, it sounds like they're able to get some speed up for this year too. So hopefully they'll get a good comeback.
And French had a nice pickup down at Hill 3.
4-5 transition coming right around the 202.02 mark. Arjun Rajagopala.
202.02, Nate.
This is going to be quite a competitive time.
I don't know if I actually said that or if it was an artifact of the audio.
Coming across the line.
I'm just reading on the stopwatch.
I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna trust that you said it.
225.2.
We're gonna go. I will say, it always gets me whenever pushers push in hats. I've seen too many of them fly off.
That should
be to really believe that that's a good strat.
Is that a loss of mass? It actually happened like 2 heats ago here with
it did.
I don't believe it's a loss of mass because it's the mass didn't come off the buggy. If you put the hat on the buggy, it would be an issue. But for the pusher,
it was probably,
if any,
there is a whole talk about
there
people,
was a lot of wobbling going on, especially during the transition.
One great way to reduce the mass of a buggy is to not have a push bar. And so there's been a joke going around that what you do is you have the push bar be part of the pusher. And so each pusher gets a push bar that they slot into the buggy. And then shove.
Rolling down here. You've got a jacket.
And so you get to reduce the buggy with his mass during the free roll without it actually being lost of the first
one.
I'm so sorry.
Wait, what was that? You build the push bar into the pusher?
Second break is good.
Basically, they get like gloves that have the handle attached to it, so they're holding the push bar.
Oh, interesting.
And
okay.
Then there's like a socket that they slot it into for the roll. Might there be some logistical issues? Sure. But like, where's the fun if there are not logistical?
Technically a change of mass rule, so adding mass also.
Not even close to them failing today.
But if it's
a really good sign.
If it never, the real question is, does it actually count as part of the buggy ever?
I see.
If it's attached to the pusher,
pass any sniff test as someone who did help make those calls, but it would be funny to see.
I feel like how would sweepstakes ever stop you from doing it? They can't say like, oh, the buggy gained mass. As soon as you lift up your hand, the buggy doesn't have that handlebar. So clearly the buggy never had it.
I do imagine that it would likely have issues getting taped and qualified.
little Greek battle.
Well,
here.
I will also
The
point
DG
out that
girls are carrying
first of all,
Insight
it
out.
seems like a very CIA
Buggy
thing
might
to
be
do,
older
so
than
I'm glad that
everybody
Nate
in
is the one
house.
pushing for that, and I think CIA should try it.
Buggy.
But as
We've
CIA
done
has proven time and time
2003
again,
or something. So
when you're
older than a lot of
changing
people here for
the
sure.
state of the push bar, if you
All right, we are
will,
at the countdown.
it often comes with downsides that aren't worth the potential upsides.
2, 1.
I do worry
Let's
about the
go.
risk of like dislocating your wrist, especially shoving off of hill 2.
Also
And
true.
we are off. They lifted the tail a little bit
Or
there on the
going
DG
downhill too
men's
with the
A
buggy.
side.
Yeah.
But
Well,
really
unrelated to the push bars,
making some
shout
separation
out
here for
here
the
to
DG
DG.
pusher. You would expect
I
them
don't
to
think
come out
we've
ahead on the
talked
front
about
hills. That's
them
Austin
because they had
coming up onto
this
the
already had a
1-2 transition
retreat
here,
on
pushing
Saturday
up
and could
to
only
Jack
roll on Sunday
Laird.
of this weekend.
But
But
honestly, not that
they
far
are the
behind here.
newest
SAU
team
Women's
on
A.
the course,
Audrey
like
Bianco
entirely
on the
new.
hill
They
one,
tried to
pushing
start
up
up
to Maddie
in
Kellogg
like
as DG
2019,
gives a really early hill
2020.
two
Of
shove.
course,
He's about a
got
32
slashed by
and a half
COVID,
crosswalk time.
and
SAU
now
right
have
behind him
been
at about a
racing for the
36
past 2 years.
crosswalk
But I
time.
think
There is not a whole lot of
I could be
separation
wrong.
between these
I don't
buggies.
remember if
Maybe
this was the first
5
year
or
or the
6
second
buggy
year where
lengths.
they were able to field a
But
men's A,
Insight,
women's A, and an all gender
you
A.
imagine,
But
probably create
they've
some
been slowly
separation
growing.
here off
They've
that hill
been
too.
working on a build, and
Keeping a
so
pretty tight
This
good
is-
shout
line
out
to
to
the curve
them.
here
This
is
is the
Insight
first year they've
coming
had
around
all
that first
three.
bend, about halfway between the bike line,
Yeah.
bike
They
lane
had
line
a
and
men's
the
team
curb.
in
Lost sight of the
2024,
buggy coming here.
and they
Stopped
had a
that
men's
time
team in
around
2022.
103
as well.
102, 103 for
22.
Insight. So
Yeah, they did not have one
you
in
know, sort of around that
23.
second
Either that or
clustering
they
for
got
those
DQ'd
men's
in
teams,
23,
I
one of the
think,
two.
have
But
lost sight here of Barbie as we pass the transition.
but yeah, so
flag.
but yeah, this is the first time they've had all three teams, and like Elena said, they are building a buggy. I think they have a shell.
Wonderful turn by Delta.
They had a shell as of last year.
Yeah.
They had some delays that prevented it from
Consistently
getting
impressed by the
released in
driving
time
of,
for
these DG
Raceday.
drivers
Yeah.
in this old
So
buggy.
I
But they
Really
had
nice hill
2
3 pickups.
drivers,
The pickups today have been really
so
nice,
they were
actually,
prepared
from all
to
of
have
these
an additional
teams.
buggy, and so
That's
they should be good for this.
Denny's
and that's the one thing that I will say about DG is
I'm so
they
sorry.
absolutely
Their
have the
pronunciation is
push
there.
teams to
But a
win.
nice shove off to hill 4.
Unfortunately, they're using
Fergus-
Insight, which is a
Fergus
fringe buggy
Wong,
from 2003.
and
So
he
the
is moving on
buggy
this hill
itself
4.
is not
Holding the
as
buggy
good as
for a couple of
the
steps
top
in between
buggies
each
today,
push is a sort
though
of
they've
a
done a good
technique I
job
haven't
maintaining it
really seen
and
a lot of. Generally,
making
people
it
try to shove
competitive.
in stride, but
but
it seems to be working for him.
if and when they release a new buggy,
Barbie.
a modern era buggy, if you will,
And
I
big shove from hill 4 to hill 5.
it
That's
wouldn't
gonna be
surprise
Bennett
me
Matthews
to see them
coming up.
on the
This is
top
a
of the
really
leaderboard. Like
fast-looking
they're
hill 5.
they're
Coming across the
legitimately
220 mark here.
a top
This
contender.
DG team
I
looking
mean, you'll even
quite
see it.
fast. Coming up in the finish line, got to make sure to keep your hand on that push bar.
Is it a heat? Is it the
Gonna
women's
be
heat?
coming
The
across
women's
here
finals
at
heat.
around a 2:34
Where they go up against CIA.
DGA.
I think that was last
And
year.
SAU
Or
women's
was that
A.
last
year
year?
as well. It was both
Coming up not
this year
that
and
far
last year.
behind them.
Yeah, so like
That's
I mean,
Kate
they're
Bergen pushing to hill 5.
they're somewhat far behind CIA Women's A, but that 24-second
Chugging
gap
right
that
along,
they
moving
have,
really fast, keeping the hand
a
on the
large
push
chunk
bar
of that is
as
just
we
the fact
cross the
that
line.
CIA rolls
We're about
much
a
faster than
3:01,
Insight does.
3:02,
So
Yeah,
somewhere in that
they are
ballpark,
going to be
so
one of the last heats
that
of
should
today.
be good enough to
Yeah.
put them right on the border
and there again.
of a podium time here for the women's side.
Yeah, DG.
They are
Definitely
also
a team to
using
look out
the
for. I hope that
famous
new buggy
jacket,
comes out. I know
drop flag. That's been a
some of
pretty
the
popular one today.
folks
I think
my
it's
year
how
were
cold it is. Everyone's got extra
leading and
jackets, but,
spearheading that and trying to get that out. Unfortunately, not before we graduated.
And
but
Insight in a typical fringe buggy fashion.
I'm sure they would also really like to see
very
that.
easily on its first pull.
No, they're
Last
head
I
mechanic.
heard, they're
Twice,
very
quickly, 3
optimistic about the
times,
spring.
and they have passed
Yeah.
drops.
Worst
their
case,
head
they.
mechanic is quite good. So.
I was just gonna say, worst case, they were out this morning rolling Insight, so they're. It's not like they're going anywhere. So the next step is build a buggy, and then they can still roll Insight as a B team, and then they got two two drivers, 2 buggies.
So we got eyes
You start
now
expanding,
on
and
SAEA's drop
things really take off from there.
Barbie.
They are very excited at the potential of having a B team. Apparently, a lot of people are interested in pushing, and they've been wanting to accommodate all of their women's pushers who want to push, but couldn't because of only having insight. So having this new buggy is going to really expand how much of their chapter can participate.
That's awesome.
Fogged windshield brings
really
me back.
exciting.
That is what happens. When
It's always good to
drive
see,
this early in
like,
this
the
cold.
first couple years
You
for a
gotta
team
breathe
are
in
always so rough.
Looking to our
And
next
it's really
team here, I'm
hard
not
to
sure
get
exactly how
momentum
much time we
going,
have, but one of
especially
the
in
heavy
DG,
hitters
which
of the day,
takes like
Spirit
all of
Men's
their
A,
stuff,
will be rolling in
Booth, Greeksing,
Zook
very
in this next heat.
seriously. I know it can be hard to
Up
like
against Apex Men's C,
make
rolling
enough
in their new
space
build,
for
Helios.
Buggy to get the attention it
So we've got
deserves.
28 seconds here.
But the people in charge of
There's
it
a
are
big
very
contingent of
passionate.
people yelling out here, coming up behind their absolute beast of a Hill 1 pusher. We're expecting some pretty good performance out of him.
Shout out to the driver of Zook here, Spirits Buggy,
All right, we are at
Nans,
the
who I
countdown.
believe set the record in 2025 for most rolls on race day. I believe they rolled either 6 or 7 times on race day between re-rolls and exhibitions and divisions. Like I think it's either 6 or 7 times.
I don't think that was the same driver. They had 2 drivers qualified in that buggy. So even though Zook went around the course a whole bunch of times, it was, Jasmine, you remember it was Nans and Cadence, I think, were the 2 drivers.
It's Cadence. I think she drives Seraph now, actually. Or I think she's caped in multiple, but at least this morning you would have seen Cadence driving Seraph.
Yeah. Cadence was the driver for all of Friday, so the previous week, so she drove the all-gender, the reroll, and the exhibition that day.
Gotcha.
And then I think Nans did all of this weekend, but I could be wrong about that.
All right, well then, still a shout-out, because it's always nice to shout-out drivers, but I retract my most rolls of the weekend comment, or weekends.
Yeah.
A couple seconds ahead of
We can say that Zook
today,
got the most rolls
maybe
of
a
the
second or two behind some of the top
multiple
teams from
weekends.
yesterday on the men's side.
Yes, I believe that's true. I mean, there were either 4 or 5 rolls on Friday, so that probably...
Perfect line.
I think that's the highest. The only other one that I could think could have been was like Molotov, because Molotov was rolling a bunch on... It did, it did a couple of exhibitions, but I'm pretty sure Zook is the
and a great Hill 3
set the record for this year.
Oland. 2 pushes.
Let me ask. I'm going to jump slightly ahead to the 2026 race day. Well, fall of 2025, and ask, because Jazz, you're here. How did mini race day go today? Any thoughts or notable things that happened, or other than just wet roads delaying things for a while?
No notable thing, yes, of course, wet. I think there's a picture I sent Elena. We were using paper towels to dry up the chute this morning. All in all, honestly, very successful. We did have to delay about an hour because the course was damp and we didn't feel comfortable having the races on damp roads. But we were able to get through, I think, I want to say 9 heats, including a timing exhibition heat. And we did have a few teams scratched for safety reasons. Honestly, like, genuinely, shout out to those teams for prioritizing the safety of their drivers. But largely speaking, it seemed like the energy was really high. At least I was in the follow car, and I could see people like running behind the buggies up Hill 1, and that's something that you usually never see unless it's race day. So it really did feel like like a mini race day, which might be a silly statement, but
that's awesome. Yeah, for those who don't know, Mini Race Day is a thing that we call it Mini Race Day, but in the past, it's usually homecoming weekend or sometime in November. It's historically all it's been is a chance to practice Hill 1. Normally, when you practice rolls, you're starting on Hill 2 or the top of the hill. So it's really like a chance to do the full course. It's unofficially timed, like there are timers out there, and then the winner would get, the fastest time would get some sort of prize. In the past, the Buggy Alumni Association has done like fantasy buggy for mini race day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've tried it once or twice. It hasn't necessarily.
Send you guys my fantasy buggy for actual race day that I made a few years ago.
It hasn't necessarily
pass drops down as well. So we continue our streak today.
Sorry, I'm distracted because
we're gonna have
apparently those of you who were watching in the UC, there is a fire alarm, so people have evacuated. We're gonna keep going because honestly, you can watch on YouTube. People are
definitely having some
able to watch, and the in-person rewatch was really just people could hang out and watch, but I don't even know if people were still there doing it. So we'll keep going virtually, and if people do want to join, they can join on their phones or on their computers. But yeah, so if you're in the UC, hopefully you're not anymore because as one person has commented, sorry, the race day rewatch was too fire.
Versus Fringe Men's A. Golden Neely taking a solid
But
lead
yeah,
here on Hill
so
1,
sorry, I got distracted with that note, but stay safe for those of you who are on campus, and
yeah, Holden Neely.
we'll still hold down the fort here with Fringe Men's A and CIA Women's B. Fringe. I like. I'm a big fan of Fringe's new buggy Bermuda and the paint job, especially the drone shot that we just saw there. I love the way that this buggy looks in that drone shot. It's so cool from the top. My only complaint to Fringe is
taking a pretty close line here to
the way when I tag and caption pictures for design competition or for Buggy Showcase for the gallery, I usually just like in 20 years when people are looking back, I try to put like what colors they are, so it's not like, oh, when he says left, does he mean like camera left or does he mean in person left, that sort of thing. So I try to put the colors as well. And when you put Bermuda and Baltic next to each other, they're technically both like blue, and so like I started doing for Baltic like light blue and dark blue, but the description for Bermuda is kind of just dark blue and light blue, so like they're
Bermuda a little bit of
all I'm saying is in the future, and just separate them by one, like put a different buggy in between the two of them, and then I don't have that issue. So that's my Fringe Bermuda complaint, is the color is too close. At a high level is too close to Baltic, even though they look nothing alike paint job wise.
I guess saying it's blue with waves also doesn't help.
Right, exactly. The ways you would describe it, like other than saying like the specific, like I could pick whatever specific color it is, or like a more accurate description of the design, but my general, which is just like which colors are in it, doesn't really work when it's right next to Baltic. So
hey, at least it's not all black buggy number whatever. So count your lucky stars there.
Yes, that's true. The Cygnews and the Pikas of the world.
And
there is no way around leftmost, rightmost, and then hopefully people don't get confused. But other than Cleona gets black with red. Black with green.
Green, yeah.
When you're chasing that buggy,
and the rumors.
Barely visible raptor written on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the chase factor is something that definitely.
I actually think the 2025 design comp ones do say like black with raptor written on it or something like that. There is a rumor out there that Pika's 2019 build Wraith will be making a return this year. So I'm looking forward to that. I also can't remember if Wraith is actually black. It was gray on during Buggy Showcase when it was there, and you're technically not supposed to paint it afterwards. But it only rolled one time and locked horns with another buggy, and we never saw it on the course again, so I can't actually remember.
The one that stuck to Equinox?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I was
it
gonna
is.
ask the same question, Nate.
job.
We
Good
like
there.
synced up.
I've got some good updates from
Equinox
Drops.
is
We've
still
seen
battle
2
scarred,
passes
although
in a row
retired
here,
I think at this
streak
point.
continues, guys.
Equinox is in my
Contact
parents'
is
basement.
Get into the line on time. If
CID.
there's anything I've learned about Pike from
Is
So-
what
my
the
time here,
DQ
it's
is
that
named as.
you cannot
Anyways,
count them out until
so
the
this
This is
is-
going to be a bit of
well,
a
you can never
painful
count
heat
them
to
out, but
watch.
sure,
Well,
absolutely
Yeah.
not until the minute that
So
Buggy hits the
I'm
course, because
curious.
once
So
the
all
pushers
right.
are
So
out
the
and
first
Buggy is
the
out,
first thing, which is obvious
they'll
because
surprise everyone.
we're
Yeah, guys, we're
already
at 10 and they're still
showing
in the
it.
truck, so they're
Like
not gonna make this one,
the countdown is
unfortunately.
going on now.
Ah.
So like they're
All right,
very
well,
late
maybe
to the
now it's
starting
time
line,
to start.
and you can see like there's a person inside that thing, and they almost dropped it, and it's pure chaos.
Did they start or no?
They're about
All right.
But-
maybe
the
15
drone
I mean, I'm
video of
like
the heat?
unfortunately,
I'm
they dropped
curious,
the Buggy coming out of the
Elena.
truck,
Like,
so-
do you know what
I started
like,
my
or
timer
can
when the
you
pushers
share
started
what
pushing, so
happened
this will
there
be,
or
I can
anything?
share a
'Cause-
little.
official time of their roll
So
around
there's
the course.
2 things that happen.
Molly
One
Coyne
Roll
pushing
is
up
anyway.
hill 1.
the
Yeah, it's fun. We're
delay,
here for
which
fun.
I believe the Pike share told me
And
it was
that's,
caused by them
pretty
overheating
good hill
some
1 there from Molly
wheels,
Coyne, about
and
a
then like nearly burning his
25,
fingers trying to get the
26
rubber buggy.
second hill 1.
Oh, that's fun.
Again, very unofficial
Which,
because I was
if
just
you
going off
realize,
of
the
what I
buggy
could
rolls
see,
really
but
slowly, and it's
passing off
because
to
if you overheat
Maria
wheels, they tend to melt
Drazenovic
and not
on
become
hill
round
2.
anymore. And so I believe that was part of what happened.
Pushing Raptor here.
There is also a point where
and
it
a
fully
really,
stops
really
on the
early
course,
shove. That might have even been
and this is
before
because
the,
the
crest of
flagger
hill 2, with
does
that
in
shove,
fact
and
like
Raptor is
throw a stop
kind of
flag
just inching towards the crosswalk.
accidentally.
That's a
He's
54.5
confused,
second crosswalk
and
time
then
for Pike here.
takes it back,
But now
and
picking
so
up
then
some
the
speed
buggy
as
like
we
gets a push and keeps going.
roll down
The nice
the
thing
back
for
end
them
of
with the
this
one
hill
like
2.
grain of
And
happiness in this
yeah,
is that they were rolling
let's see
alone,
what Raptor can
so
do
it let
here
them
with,
still go around the course. Because normally,
maybe
if
less
you don't
starting
make it to the
speed
start line in
than
time,
the driver would have been
the
expecting.
follow truck is going to follow the buggy that's there. And so, in another situation,
around,
they probably wouldn't have gotten to
in this
roll at
bike
all.
lane and
But
kind of just
they got the
maintaining
lenience of like getting to go around the
that
course
pace.
still.
Well, so then I do have a follow-up question,
have
which
lost sight of the buggy.
because of how the heats. Because we've cut this together as heats, you won't get to see the dichotomy here. But this heat ends up taking
I guess,
almost 5.5 minutes.
Truly a wild card.
As we
for
mentioned
Pike
before,
Women's A-team. Raptor
where the
rolling up
heats
to the
here were
stop
only
sign. I
between
have my
7
concerns about
minutes,
whether this buggy will actually
7 minutes from the
make it
start
to
of
the
one heat to 7
transition.
minutes
It's
of the
about a
next heat. So
1:50
when
stop sign
Raptor
time.
gets back to do drops,
Yeah,
the
so I'm
the
getting-
next heat is only 1 minute away, and so
that
Apex
isn't
doesn't
relevant
end
most of
up
the time, but technically Hill
on
3
the
starts
starting
at the
line
monument. So as long as
at
Raptor
the
makes
at
it
the
to
5 minute
monument,
at
Hill
the
3
5
pusher
second
can run all the
mark
way
and
out
then
here
ends
and
up
pick it
not
up.
rolling.
Yeah, it
Do
looks
you
like
know like
Yeah, it seems
was
like
the
Raptor
Pika
has
roll?
come to
I
a
don't know if
halt.
the two things were
Flagger is running
related.
out to the
Like if
buggy,
Apex was like, wait, Pika is still
to
in our
give it a
lane,
little
so
nudge,
obviously
maybe,
our
to
heat
just get
isn't starting
Raptor
yet. Versus like
back up and
you know
moving again.
maybe they were having the same standard
okay.
5-second
So a little
DQ
nudge
issues
from
that
the
every team was
flagger.
having
And
on
Raptor
Saturday and Sunday.
once again,
But I don't like. Do you
in
know if the two
motion,
things were
although
at all
maybe not
related,
enough of a
or
nudge.
if Pika's role here ended up impacting the next
Depending on
heat?
what happened, maybe she'll get a roll.
Oh my goodness, I do know this. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Potentially, yeah. Okay, here we go. Raptor coming in.
Yeah,
transition
there
now.
was a bit of confusion.
You know, maybe that's
sure.
one of the benefits of Pike having
I
a flagger
think what
stand out
ended
in
up-
the
I
middle
think
of the road
we
is they
got
get to the buggy
asked
faster
if
the stop
we were
sector.
going to delay
sign.
it all because
goodness,
this
yeah, no,
roll
I
was
remember
taking
this.
so long.
They thought
The
that
Pike
Sweeps was
pushers
going to
coming down.
delay the
Who's
next
ready
heat,
for it?
and when we
Yeah,
didn't,
maybe
they were not
some
prepared.
anticipation of
All
where
right,
this buggy might end up.
Which we were very explicit. We try to be very explicit about like when we're going to delay, how that gets announced to all the teams.
Yeah, this is going to be a really long hill 3.
And so unfortunately, it was
you know, maybe getting more than you paid
on
for
them.
if you are this
And
Pike
so
Hill
what
3
we ended up
pusher,
deciding
Catherine
was
Marshall.
we allowed them to do a run
This is,
around
you
the
know,
course
cheering her on.
during one of the
This is a
reroll
nice hill
slots if
3,
no other
considering
rerolls
it's
were going,
3 to 4 times as
but
long
they would
as
still
you
be
probably were
DQ'd for
expecting,
do not start.
at, you know, coming out of push practice or truck truck weekend.
Yeah,
Catherine
we
Marshall's
usually
truck
only
still on
delay
here.
if there's legitimately a
We're,
like spin out or something
coming up on
that will
4
take
minutes.
an unknown amount of time. But since this looked like it was going to finish in enough time for the follow car to get back to the top of the hill. we thought it was going to make it,
teams in each
and
division,
it didn't delay the next heat. Because the
teams
drops
in
lane is
one
out of
division or two divisions,
out
but
of
it's just great to
line
see
with
people
all the
getting
other
out here and
lanes.
participating in this tradition
So
that
there's
we all
no
have come to love
like
so much and
interference
care so much
concern there.
about.
Yeah, and by the way, for those watching who are
Catherine.
familiar with
Nice
Buggy more
job.
generally, we
Yeah,
didn't
great
mention it,
job for
and
Catherine.
I honestly didn't
Yeah.
think about it because it's been that way for a few years due to
Hill 4
construction.
pusher,
But this for 2025,
absolutely flying.
this is
probably know it,
officially the
something
new
probably- they probably have
location
some idea
for
that something
drop
didn't go right
tests is
somewhere
actually
earlier in the
on
road,
the
but that is
street.
not letting-
Yeah.
they're not letting
It
that
is
get
no
to them.
longer on the
These
sidewalk
pushers
like
are
it
still
used to
giving it
be.
their all. And they wanna show
So
that
you know that's
regardless of
one
the
thing,
end
and
result,
I
that
don't
they are
know.
able to,
Obviously,
have
this
something that they can go home
video
and be proud
again
of
because there was only
on this race
1
day.
minute between when
Coming up to
Pika
the
finishes
4-5
and the next
transition,
heat.
that's gonna
All the
be
cameras
Mike
were
Gunning passing off
being
to
reset for the next heat and
Almazan.
following that. I don't even know. Like, did I
good
assume
transition there.
Pika did drops
Alma
at some point?
picking
But
up some
honestly,
speed,
they
shoving off
went so
Raptor
slow
here.
and they stopped on the course anyway. So I don't know that.
across
And
the
obviously they were
5-minute
DQ'd for
mark
5-second
here.
violation and a roster violation for the flag or pushing, all
Almazan
sorts of stuff.
putting up a really nice
I don't even know if it
here
needed to go
for
through
the Pike
drops.
team.
But out of curiosity, do you know if it did?
Don't have an exact.
I think it must have,
Oh.
and then just
Yeah.
didn't get like noted to us.
Yeah,
we
and
have
that-
people specifically doing
Gotta make sure to
drops,
keep
like
her
their
hand on the
entire
push
job
bar.
on race day. It was
Coming
these
across
extra
the
sweeps
finish
members that we had
at
who were
a
not supposed to be doing these things on race day, but
5:30.7.
stepped up.
Yeah, this is a really interesting
They,
heat. This is
Katie
Siget
and
Men's
Vic
A and
both
Barracuda
were running drops the
versus
entire
Apex Men's
day,
B
and so because that was
Solaris.
their
Siget
only
Men's
job,
A, I
they
think,
were
is one of
definitely
the
able to.
favorites at this
I
point
think you
to
see them
find their
right
way into a
there,
top 3
finish
spot
drops
on
to get
this
the
men's
buggy out
side,
of the
so it's
way.
going to be really
Gotcha.
interesting to see.
Yeah,
Sun
it's
is just trying to peek through.
So here, this is I don't know, the most controversial heat of the day.
Yeah.
This is Siget Men's A. Unfortunately, they were DQ'd for a rule called pacing, which is a rule that says you can't have people running in the eyesight of the pusher. So you can see like a few Sigeps running uphill one here alongside. I think that the official verdict was in part those people, but also Hill 5, which is also will be apparent later. And this honestly is probably, I would say the combination of this DQ and the CIA 2023 lane violation DQ are the two things that led to this new rule about instead of just flat out DQing a team,
We are
just
already around that first bend of the free roll.
giving them a time penalty. I don't know if you guys have disagree with me, but I feel like those were kind of the two main. Those are, in my mind, the two biggest, most recent questionable. Not questionable by the rules, because by the rules they are DQs, but questionable as in like, yeah, technically these violated the rules, but like, did it really give them a race advantage in any way? No, like it had they not done those things, it wouldn't have changed anything about the race.
That is a great.
Yeah, I mean those were the two high-profile ones. I think the general sentiment when writing, those rule changes up was really like, no team, like A team or D team, deserves to have their, like, you could be like a C team or a D team pusher and your team gets DQ'd because of something like that, and that feels equally crappy, I think. Like, it doesn't necessarily change the final results nearly as much, but yeah, I mean, those are the high-profile ones that get everyone talking, but I think it really is a rule, like, for everyone, for all the teams, and, like, it matters for things like, I mean, it does matter for placements and for finals day, seeding and things like that. So
not even across 2 minutes yet here. This is going to be right up with the top times of the day.
Yeah, there he is.
2:02. Andre De
Yeah,
Silva running
exactly.
through
So the
coming across the finish line. This is going to be right in line with
and
CIA's
in part,
time.
I think it was
Coming across
these
at a
things, you're seeing them on camera here. We've obviously got multiple camera angles that all show it, but also I think it was apparent. Like, I mean, obviously, even if you were there, just watching, you can see it. And again, it's unfortunate, and it's particularly, in my mind, it's
she skids for a little bit, but
I feel particularly bad for this one because unlike a normal year where there are 2 jumbotrons out at the course, and like if the team wants to see the entire course, like you can watch it from the top of the hill or the chute. Here, there wasn't really live footage, so the only way you would know what your buggy was doing is like to actually see it somewhere. So like I can understand why, even if you're not there, like yes, you're cheering on your buggy, but in part it's like, yeah, I just want to see what's going on, so I'm going to go a bit further down the hill so I can see when it's coming, and then I want to get to the finish line, so I'm going to run up ahead to the finish line, and I'll happen to do it while the buggy's there. But that's why it's an unfortunate DQ. But again, hopefully Sigep comes back strong this year. I mean, they've been looking good. I think they were out. I can't remember if they were out today, but I think they were out last weekend. 2 weekends ago. I feel like they were out
today.
They were out today. Okay.
They had one roll.
Yeah, and I think they were looking pretty good. If I remember, if I heard correctly. But again, couldn't see much. But I was on the radio part. It sounded like they were doing pretty well.
As of current, they are the top time on the leaderboard.
You know, maybe around
They won mini race day, unless someone could beat them.
But wow, is Paranoia flying? Can't even
see
Sarah in the frame right now.
These 2 teams are also both very, very fast. The ones we're watching right now. It seems so far from SDC that Paranoia rolls really, really well. We've been seeing some good free rolls from them.
Yeah, I do also want to point out the Spirit Women's A got a 5-second DQ, but I believe they were out fast enough that under the new rules it would only be a 6-second penalty, because I think they were away by the time the countdown got to ready. I wrote the rule. I should probably remember what it says, but I don't remember the exact thing we chose or settled on.
But you know, still maintaining a lot of speed in this Hill 3 pusher.
But yeah, I don't think they would have gotten DQ'd if this had happened this year.
Absolutely moving. That
based on the new rules.
Born Leggett. 2 shoves, a bump, and another shove.
Yeah.
Spirit with another great shoot turn down here for Women's A.
Again, the good thing is that they were out fast enough to get to go around the course. Because if they hadn't been, they wouldn't have gotten to roll at all.
Is going to be quite a fast B team time. I can't even see Seraph on the back hills. The shove into the 4-5 transition for Tanchi low.
Anyways.
Yeah, so and then SDC again, men's B, like as I mentioned before, the men's B team, like this is a 3rd place time. What they're going to come in at a 2:16, which is good enough to be like a A team for most people.
At a 2:15.
Yeah, wait,
it was also 1 second away from their A team.
I started my stopwatch
less than a second actually.
I also have to give a shout out to Nate as well as Will, because you guys had like a stopwatch in the truck, so you were, because there was no visible time on the course either, so you were timing it yourself, and I mean you were pretty spot on these times. So
yeah, I got the hang of it a couple of heats in.
Coming across. This is going to be a pretty respectable women's time as well, maybe finding them in trophy position.
Yeah, let's see. Spirit Women's A.
And they come across at a 2:53.
They got what kind of time? A 2:54, which would have put them in line with the 6th place team. That was about a 2:54. That was CMU A. Truthfully, it's still a little surprising. I feel like Fringe normally puts up very, very good women's times.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago they took home 3rd place, right? Or did it get bumped up? Was that the year it got bumped up to 2nd place? Or no?
Let me look.
I think it was the year that Spirit won.
You're through.
Or the 2nd year that Spirit won.
And
That's great.
We do have those official times.
Because that was the day that they dropped 8 seconds. The race day they dropped 8 seconds between day 1 and day 2.
With a.
Yeah, that was
2023. Yeah.
Well, women's they won in 2023 was when they won.
Yeah, they won it in 22 as well because SCC got DQ'd.
Yeah.
But I think that was the year
Cynthia.
All right.
Fringe got 3rd in 23, if I remember correctly. They had this like insane Hill 5 pusher. She put up like a 23-second Hill 5, which is like ridiculous for a women's pusher. I mean, there are men's B teams who don't put up 23-second hill fives.
Oh my god! I wonder who this is.
We are
I'm so
15
sorry.
seconds down here.
All right, so
here we go.
So talk me through this, Jazz. This is women's A. We've mentioned already that unfortunately the CIA women's A team had the fastest time. It was DQ'd because they did not have a mechanic with a extraction tool in the follow car. Where I'm sure again this is it's probably the I have to think this is the rarest DQ. I don't know that I can think of another time that it's happened. It may have happened once. I feel like Beta maybe got DQ'd for it once. But I have to imagine this is again in part because of like the chaos of bonus race day, where people have have responsibilities that they weren't expecting to have, or unlike a normal race day where the follow truck comes down to the bottom of the hill, here the follow truck was at the top of the hill, so like you would have to go up to it. So I imagine there's all sorts of chaos in there. But so Jazz, talk me through, like, you're in the buggy now. Like, what's going through your mind? What's your line like? What are you feeling?
Maybe a sign of experience for these drivers.
I
really,
I don't know if I was thinking much. I may or may not have just like gone on autopilot for a good chunk of this. I think after you've been through the course a lot of it becomes muscle memory. So I was like, okay, I am the type of person to psych myself out. So I think I wasn't trying to think too hard about it.
Here comes Delta Gamma.
And with regards to the extraction kit, I found out only like after I like got out of the buggy. So for a minute there, I like wasn't really aware. I do believe it was a bit of confusion with the tighter gun to gun. I think there was just a bit of a mix-up over where the truck would be, so the person didn't get in the truck in time, which is really unfortunate, but it is a very valid safety-related concern. So like absolutely like no hard feelings or anything. But yeah, no, I think I was just like, okay, I will do my best to pretend this is rolls, because if I stress myself out, that will be worse.
And take that top spot away from SDCA.
Yeah, I mean, I hope one of the goals of like having drivers roll a lot is that race day can be calm for them and like feel like something they've done before, which is harder than it sounds for teams to make sure that they're getting the driver rolling enough, but also at the speed that they're going to be on race day with the sort of pushers they're going to have on race day. It's a challenge, and especially when we don't have as many days of rolls in the spring, it's, I think, good that your team was able to get that for you.
Yeah, there was definitely a bit of a crunch towards the spring last year. I think it was like across the board that people really wanted to make sure that the drivers were getting enough rolls at race day speed, that race day wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, surprises on race day always suck because people are going faster than they have probably ever.
In the truck with me right now,
so I think like everyone on all the teams like really worked hard in the spring of last year to get everyone up to speed, and even like across teams there were people working together to make sure all the drivers were ready.
Yeah. I recall on like the sweeps, and we actually did explicitly talk to the chairs multiple times about the idea that they needed to be getting their drivers up to the right speed in order to feel like safely rolling them as possible. Especially when we had to lower some of the driver qualification requirements. It was a really big conversation safety-wise that we had. And so the teams all did a really, really good job of managing those, because it is logistically challenging.
I was honestly really inspired, I guess, at how much all the teams were helping each other last spring with the few rules. There was definitely like teams were coordinating with each other to try and get their drivers and the drivers on other teams as many rules as possible. So you would have seen like during, let's say, Apex's time slots, like 2 Apex buggies and then 2 buggies from other teams going with them, so that everybody could get many roles, and that kind of like collaborative spirit is really good to see because like even though it's like a competitive race, it's like the community, I think everyone cares so much about Buggy and wants everyone to like be ready and safe and have a good time. It's like pretty good to see. I was happy to see that.
And the Spirit Sea Pusher
it was really wonderful.
Keeping pace for a while.
I think that was the first time I've seen multiple teams at the same time all start pairing up, like permanently rolling together. I will say from the perspective, sometimes the collaboration got a little bit out of hand. It's really important for like coordinating how fast your buggies are going and stuff when you're doing rolls. That all the chairs are talking to each other, and so it was definitely a bit of a learning curve when we had lots and lots of teams trying to roll with each other to get more rolls in.
Keeping about halfway between.
By the way, a quick delayed update. The University Center did not burn down. Apparently, we are back in the room, so good to know. The bad news is that unfortunately, CMU's debut in their first homecoming in the Centennial Conference did not go well. And we lost to Franklin and Marshall 31-24. So for those of you who are CMU football fans like I am, bit of a letdown this year. And now and unfortunately, football is the only sport that isn't going to be behind a paywall now when watching. So as we wind down in that season, that's a bit of a letdown. But
so for Buggy's not behind a paywall.
Buggy is not behind a paywall. That is very true.
Brought to you by the BAA.
That is very, very true. You do not have to pay for any Buggy content, but we welcome donations if you would like to make them for the Buggy Alumni Association to help support things like Raceday. SDC Men's A here, as we mentioned before, only a second faster than their B team, but if you remember that I said their B team finished third, that means their A team was good enough for second.
On this hill 5
so
to try to take
I personally would consider this a pretty successful race day for SDC. You win women's, you win all gender, you're second and third in men's. You're actually first and third in women's. That's a lot of trophies.
The finish line around a
2:15.3. Gotta have a lot of hardware.
Just a hair ahead of their B team.
And honestly, this was a pretty impressive showing from Spearmint C.
Yeah,
they were pretty close behind over here.
Oh yeah, they're the second fastest C team time, less than a second behind CIA, who was the winning men's time. So, and only 7 seconds slower than their A team. And I think in part that goes to the chaos of rosters, right? Because you don't really know. Things kept changing, so it's very possible that like the people who you thought were going to be faster, your original pushers couldn't make it, so the people that you had filling in were actually faster than you thought they were going to be, and so it brings things closer. But a really good showing, just barely missed the top 10.
Yeah, there's an element of that's kind of hard to measure when you're putting your rosters together, and this is true for regular race day too, but once you start moving people around, it's even more so. It's that like everyone, I mean, the general wisdom, right, is everyone's faster on race day, but that effect is very different from person to person. Some people are just fueled by adrenaline and competition in ways that other people aren't, and you learn over the years of people pushing for you, like how much to take, how much to subtract from their push practice times, essentially, in what you can expect out of them on race day. And that can really mess up your, especially if you're racing new pushers or you're moving people around last second, that can really screw up your expectations.
It's great. The closest you can
for sure.
get to
I recall we had a Hill 1 pusher
an airplane.
One of the years that learned what King of the Hill was, like a few minutes before his race, and he was like, "Oh, well, I want that," and tried like way harder than we had seen him try before. He did not get King of the Hill.
Okay, and Apex is off.
But
it
was really funny to see like what motivated that man.
Buggy, a new
our Hill 5 men's A pusher. For the last couple of years, he was Hill 4, I think, before that. But he, would regularly drop like 3 seconds off his times between push practice and race day, just because he hates losing.
Hill 2 pusher taking it away. He
is this Dan?
Yeah, this is Dan. Little taps. He's keeping that Buggy close.
Oh wait, real quick. Shout out to the Apex driver here, Maggie. This was her 4th year driving Buggy and her 4th race day. And yeah, she has been involved in the sport for a very long time. There weren't that many drivers on the course last year that have been involved since 2021. So shout out to Maggie and fantastic final run.
Maggie had a hellish freshman year as well, because that was the year I was one of the lead mechanics for Apex. We had so many brakes issues with Solaris due to like old hardware, and we kept having to like fix the brakes during drops while she was still in the buggy, and so we'd have her just like scoot back and like turn sideways to reach some of the parts, because we didn't have time to take her out. She also nearly got hit by another buggy on race day because it was during an exhibition, and so there was some confusion in terms of like separation. So she had a rough start out, but she handled it really well, and I think she was probably one of the best drivers on the course by the end of her time there.
3 to 4 transitions.
I was just gonna say that shoot looked gorgeous. So
yeah.
And Carnegie Mellon actually did has a video that they put up on YouTube interviewing Maggie about what it's like to be a buggy driver. It's a really cool video. If I were smart enough and thought about this beforehand, I would have like had the link ready and I could have like put it up, but I didn't remember that. But if you, yeah, if you're watching at home, like after this, just search for it on YouTube. It's all there. But it's really cool. I think we. If I remember correctly, we put it on the broadcast on Friday, but they pulled the wrong version and it was like in Spanish. But which is kind of funny. But there is an English version out there, so you can find that one.
So Brian, I'm keeping myself blended in the
I just sent you the link.
I'm hearing
awesome.
that there might be another re-roll, so we are going to hang
it's called Go Inside Buggy. With Apex driver Maggie Blair. But yeah, so this reroll was the last race of Sunday. So the last official, well, this one actually didn't count, but this was the last official race of Race Day. But there were exhibitions that took place on the Friday, so we are going to watch some of we are going to watch those as well. I think there's 7 more. So people are I'm curious. Like I'll take the exhibition time to like ask some questions and stuff. But if people want to leave, I know we said 10 to 1. It is.
And we might be about ready.
1 to 4. I'm in California, so that's why it's 10 to 1 my time. Yeah, so it's 3:56. So I understand if people want to check out, but this is something new that was done in 2025, and I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts, Elena, on this. But this is the what do we call this? The Vintage Buggy Showcase, the Vintage Buggy Derby. Vintage Buggy something.
Exhibition, I think is what we call it.
Yeah, but so this is FICAP Streak, which won the buggy itself won the races in 1972 and 1973, and it's being pushed here by some members of Phi Kappa Theta from the 70s and across time.
And it's a really beautiful buggy.
Obviously, the buggy didn't go through a full capes, rolls, qualification sort of thing. So that's why it's not doing the full course. It's just picking up from the chute and being pushed up the back hills where it can be under the manpower of people pushing. But I'm curious, and it's being driven by Rachel Schmidt, who's a Apex alum and former BAA vice president as well as BAA secretary, and podcast producer. She's done a lot of things on the BAA.
She also used to be on CIA for a while.
She was a CIA
buggy.
She was she built a buggy for CIA, but she was a driver for Apex. So I think of her as an Apex person.
She's done so many things.
Yes.
That woman.
Yes. But so let me ask Elena. First of all, like, what was it like getting? And maybe it was just as easy as to be like, "Yep, we'll do this." Like, how difficult was it to get CMU to agree to letting a buggy from the 1970s that hadn't gone through the safety requirements and stuff roll? And then do you think that this is something that, like, again, just the back hills portion that can be done in the future? Like, is this a model for future years with other vintage buggies?
This was intended to be a model for future vintage buggies. Like, that was part of what we wanted for it. It was a lot of brainstorming on me and Jeremy and Rachel's part, actually, because what we wanted was something that could be replicated, and pulling streak through capes and rolls and getting a driver qualified in streak. Well, not only like deeply questionable because of the buggy not really being built for our current safety standards, but also takes away from low-income current teams, a huge logistical challenge. And so we were like, let's try to think of something that doesn't require like capes and rolls. And so we stole this concept from Robo Buggy. They call it a Hubat, which is short for with hand on buggy at all times. And you'll see them at rolls sometimes. They'll literally jog a buggy around the entire course. But that was the rule we made, was that the buggy can never be rolling on its own. It has to have a hand on it at all times. I guess except for like half a second when the pushers are switching. But that way, if anything goes wrong, there's no like major safety concern. The buggy's not rolling downhill. And then there was also like, we got the trucks down there to help like clear out people and stuff.
Otherwise, that delays then to Sunday.
It was a good time. It's been something that the Phi Kappa alum have wanted for a very long time, and this was kind of the first time we've been able to give them a sort of a role. Yeah, honestly, getting them to agree to the alumni as a driver was a little bit more difficult than getting them to agree to the buggy itself, because sweepstakes already has so many internal safety checks for buggies, but we had to go to like more internal university stuff to get approval for Rachel driving, which was great, because then it became a thing that sweepstakes didn't have to touch. It's always nice when there's something on race day that you as sweepstakes aren't like having to control.
Yeah.
And once we had all the rules for this exhibition set up, we kind of got hands off. We also we had a required set of driver fitting checks that we do during showcase. So that'll be a thing that any like future buggy doing these sorts of exhibitions has to go through. But that's something the like safety chair or someone appointed by the safety chair can perform the day before the races. And so it's a lot easier to do. It means the buggy can show up for only race day and still do a vintage exhibition. So I guess if any alumni have old buggies that are still functional laying around in garages, because they do have to steer, and the driver does have to be able to see.
Give you a stop sign time, but as Brian mentioned earlier, that's one of the major measures.
Bring them out.
We
made requirements about like if they can have no harness, but they can have a helmet. With like documentation for like what's required and what's not, and like all the different fit checks and stuff. But yeah, there was a pretty good amount of effort put into it, and hopefully it'll work for future buggies too.
I mean, obviously. Well, that's awesome. And yeah, if you're an alum and you have a buggy that's older, that's out there, and it's like, hey, you want to bring it to Pittsburgh and let it run in a little exhibition thing here. Maybe we'll turn that into our own alumni division where you get to race old buggies and we'll time them. We haven't really talked much about this one, but this is the what is now become annual grudge match between the faculty of the Mellon College of Science and the Carnegie Institute of Technology, the engineering school and the science school. I'm still, having watched this in live and now on replay, I'm still not sure if the teams swap buggies or not. I'm still very confused. I think in real time I was trying to judge it based on what they were wearing, and like the shirt colors, like the red shirt changed, but I also, it could just be, these are the shirts people are wearing. So unfortunately I don't know the faculty members, so like even if I know their names, that like from the rosters, that doesn't. I guess I could look up their photos. It's probably on CMU's website somewhere because they are faculty. But CIT taking the grudge match this year.
Was that not MCS?
So yeah,
That was
MCS.
All right, MCS taking the grudge match this year.
Oh, MCS is going to be so upset at you, Marshall.
Yeah, well, the good thing for me is the last science I ever took was back in 11th grade, so I never did anything in MCS.
Shout out to Sweepstakes this
Oh
year
goodness.
for painting the
Well,
And the only engineering course I ever took at an engineering school was a course called What is Engineering? It was for non-engineering students. It was a fun course though. It was me and like a few basketball players. Like that was there were a couple people from the women's basketball team, and we got to go on a field trip to Westinghouse though. So that was fun. It was a fun class.
That was cool. I feel like MCSCID has become a little bit of like an annual grudge match. It's often used as a timing heat. But the faculty members go out, they make shirts and everything. Okay, I do want to talk about Buggy.
Yes, go for it.
This was really, really cool on them.
Yes.
So Buggy has been building up for years. They have 2 working buggies. Both can be autonomously and remote controlled. And so for this race day, they wanted their exhibition to be a pass, like they orchestrated a pass in the course.
But I'm wondering,
and that is difficult. Teams have to orchestrate passes for pass tests, just generally. And we have passes fail frequently every single year. Not to mention that with Buggy, they have less predictability with their buggies and how fast they're going to roll. And so, as you can see, NAND is like swerving all over the place. It slows it down. Short Circuit also having a rough time. I learned later that they actually had to switch to remote control like partway through this roll. And make it like look smooth and not have any problems, because all their buggies are fail safe. So if something goes wrong, the buggy will just stop. Which we saw in Raceday 2024. The buggy got too far away from the controller and just stopped. But here
we're getting close to the stop sign here.
We were very stressed in the car about whether or not they would make a pass. And as you can see, they have people positioned along the course to push the buggies if buggies stop. Just like Short Circuit nearly hit and then stopped. But their Buggy, weird stuff happens with them all the time, and they're always really, really well prepared. So they had someone ready to like give the buggy another few pushes. And so this is like a brand new thing for them, is getting a like pass together, having both their buggies free rolling like fully alone at the same time. And they've been doing a really good job. They've been in the rolls order the past couple years, like with all the normal teams, because while this exhibition doesn't show it because they had some technical difficulties, they do normally roll with like comparable speeds to all of the normal racing teams.
We might see a pass here.
And it looks like we do. And there you go. Short Circuit.
Passing in the chute is something you're only excited to see from a robotics team.
They had people ready to push down in like the middle of the chute, but they did get their pass. I remember joking with them later about like it's very funny that their past challenges were challenges in terms of timing the pushers as opposed to like the actual robotic elements.
Well, that's like any pass test. I always used to have trouble timing when to send a buggy in order to pass the second one, especially when your buggy is camo and it doesn't roll well.
Yeah. Well, you can see here also, Buggies, one of the hardest things for them is actually going in a straight line. I think anyone who's driven a car knows it's like there's a lot of little micro adjustments you do to keep your vehicle moving just like forwards. And it's a lot harder to do that when you're not the person in the vehicle or you're a computer. And so they've done a lot of work over the years on making their buggies roll smoothly. And so I encourage anyone who can see them roll at rolls to do so, because they frequently do have trouble during race day, but usually they have some pretty impressive stuff happening at rolls.
And who's to say? I mean, the course record again. This is the first time. Well, once Nand crosses the finish line here, this will be the first time that two robotic buggies have crossed the finish line together.
It's a very cool thing, here, and then we even get to see them do drops here.
Oh yeah, this was a new thing. We forced them to do both capes and drops all of the year, like normal teams, for the first time, because they were rolling at really high speeds. And as I've said several times, safety is not just for the drivers, it's for the people you might hit if the buggy doesn't stop. And so, you see they don't have a flag because they don't have a driver that sees it. They have someone with a remote control hitting a switch that says brake.
Very impressive.
I guess the next step will be for the buggy to read that the line says flag and then brake there.
We have a new entrant to the booth.
I'm not sure a driver could read that, but yeah.
For Atlas coming up.
They did have, there was an incident last year, 2 years ago? I can't remember now, where Robo-Buggy normally will often go like earlier on rolls because they don't need light to roll. But the flaggers had already set up, and so they heard a buggy coming and flagged for Robo-Buggy.
I do remember that.
But yeah, anyways, major shout out to Robo-Buggy.
Here's Atlas again. This is
they are doing some cool stuff and have really built up in the past couple of years.
Teams building multiple.
And also, I will just point out that since AI is all the rage now, these autonomous buggies were being done before AI was all the rage. Like Robo-Buggy. Well, there have been a couple attempts at Robo-Buggy in the past, but the current Robo-Buggy group.
They are by far the fastest one. They've set all their own course records and everything too.
Yes, but they've been rolling since 2016. Before I even heard of the term AI.
Yeah.
That's probably
Another
not
big
true,
shout out is Atlas here. If you recall from 2024 and 2023, normally they jog their buggy around the entire course. And this year was the first year that buggy has ever rolled alone, like down the free roll. It's much lighter than most buggies, so it doesn't tend to make it the entire free roll. But this one is remote controlled. There's the driver is sitting in the follow car and piloting the buggy. But again, like a big first in their world was having this buggy roll solo down the course. You see here it's very light, so it rolls to almost a stop, I think. But
which obviously for robotic buggies, that's the major concern, because we think of the free roll as downhill, but it's not entirely downhill. There are some uphill portion, slight uphill things too.
Right here is like the flat spot that all the buggies will stop at when they're bagged.
Exactly. In fact, we saw Pika's Raptor do it on the women's side, right? Like the buggy just came to a stop here.
Regardless of speed,
so it's not even necessarily a weight thing, but it is something teams have to contend with, and then the robotic buggies even more so, because I mean,
they don't have a whole human inside. Robo-Buggy actually has to put like 100 pounds of ballast basically on their buggies to get them up to like normal buggy racing speeds. But then you think about like, when you take a buggy and you pick it up and you put it like on a cart, normally the driver's not in that buggy. Robo-Buggy has to deal with like a 120-pound buggy at all times. So they have to get creative every time they have a crash about how they get it back to the top of the hill if they have any damage to like the steering or the wheels.
Yeah, that's the other, like, you don't really think about it because it's like, all right, there's no safety risk to the driver of a robotic buggy crashing into the curb or the hay bales or whatever. Obviously, the spectators have to be aware, but like Monaco here, not going super fast, a spectator could get away from it if it needed to. But that doesn't mean, like, yeah, it may not be a safety issue, but like there are a lot of electronic components in there where any sort of impact, like it's going faster than the speed of you dropping your phone on the ground, like, and that cracks your phone. Like that could be a major damage if it just like happens to roll into a curb.
This has happened to both Robo Buggy and Atlas during rolls. There was one time Atlas something happened, and the buggy just rolled into a curb, and it wasn't going very fast, but it did damage stuff. Robo Buggy jumped a curb, and the buggy caught flight. And it had some damage to the front and the steering system as a result. But that's one of the things about the robotic buggies is that usually when they have issues, it's very sharp turns and very all of a sudden. And so it's definitely a particular, like, sport of its own almost. Like, there's different issues that they deal with that normal buggy teams don't, and vice versa.
Well,
Monaco
you say
was
that.
also new this year, right?
No, it was last year. It was 2024.
Oh, I remember the buggy they had before was like a modified like baby buggy.
Well, that was its name.
Baby is older.
But like it was like a autonomous or RC like baby stroller.
Yes.
That's an older one. Let me pull up when Monaco was built.
Monaco was 2024. So it debuted late in the year. 2024 was the year where we had like no rolls until truck weekend. I think, right? I think that's right. It was like because
I think that's every
no,
year at this
2024 was
point.
better.
I don't know, in between.
2024 was last year. It did have a normal amount of rolls in the spring.
I feel bad.
Was it 2023 that didn't have? Whoa.
Yeah. 2023 also was pretty usual. 2022 didn't really have rolls until truck weekend. We had 1 day of rolls outside of truck weekend in 2022.
I could have swore 2024.
And 2022 was 2023 was relatively decent for spring weather compared to some of the more recent years, I want to say.
I'm looking it up because I feel like
the Spirit 40.
Oh yeah, all right. 2020. You're right. 2024 did have a normal amount of rolls.
Quote, as many people as we can fit on the course.
Yes.
But the driver is listed as Cadence Ching.
So yeah, so the
again, I would imagine part of why it took a little bit.
There's Spirit 40. This is a fun one.
So,
yes, and as I think I mentioned on the broadcast, the roster that we were given said as many people can fit on the course. So it's this is my new favorite type of exhibition, like that CIA did with their 50th. It's you get as many people as you can from the organization, and they each try to get one push on the buggy, and you try to see how many people actually touch it and how many miss it.
A roll around the course.
Yeah, I believe they did normal front hills and then had the back hills lined with as many people as possible.
Yeah, that must be because I'm saying this now, but I'm seeing only one person at a time. So this is definitely normal.
No, they did a whole bunch on the back hills. I recall.
One of the biggest upsets, I would argue.
But it's a fun one.
Shaving nearly 7 seconds off.
So I love exhibitions. I think they're so much fun because they're relaxed. It's a chance for alumni to come back and push. It's a chance for people who, mechanics to push, drivers to push. Like it's a chance to get a bunch of people who wouldn't normally get to participate, and like it's more chill. Like you can have 50 people push without like worrying that you're gonna DQ or something like that.
It's really quite
No, I love exhibitions. I like to think of them as like all the normal roster rules just go out the window and you can kind of do whatever as long as it's still safe. And so it's been fun to see it get like a little more creative. It's also fun to see people doing like half hills and stuff to make it a little less awful when you're like a random alum coming back to push an exhibition.
Yeah, or I mean,
here we go.
And here we see a lot of
exactly.
This is the always fun one shove and pass. Everyone shooting the tuck the buggy just to get a say.
But then
going to be that one person that gives a huge
you got to feel bad for like the person who tries to reach it and can't, or. And then I do appreciate that all of the spirit people kind of are going up the hill alongside the buggy, so like they get to all join in at the finish line.
Yeah. No, it's a fun one. And they did a lot of really cool stuff, like their shirt design and other buggy designs were really well thought out. So they ended up winning, I think, both People's Choice and T-shirt design, basically for that reason. And so they did a lot of really cool stuff.
I think one of the pushers either lost a phone or something on the course that someone had picked up, but yeah, see, so all it takes, one person gives a bigger shove, especially on Hill 5, and now like 10 people didn't get a chance to push that buggy.
It's always a problem at practice too. There's a flat spot at the end of Hill 4 that people are never expecting.
Well, I just watched Jasmine, the current sweepstakes assistant chair, get burned.
The thing that I always used to tell my Hill 5 pushers is like, however fast you thought you were pushing on all of the practices, the buggy will always go faster down Hill 5 on race day.
Yeah.
So like
push it, hold it.
We had one year we got 5 second DQ'd because the buggy finished like a solid 5 seconds ahead of our pusher, and I asked him why that happened afterwards when we said just don't shove the buggy, like just hold, keep it close to you. He said, well, in practice I would always give it one shove, then 2 shoves, and then for the third once I caught up to it the third time, that's when I would keep it close. And on race day he gave it 1 shove and caught up, gave it 2 shoves and the second shove and never saw it again. It's like, yeah, it's always going to roll faster. So, and especially when you're talking to, here alumni who haven't pushed a buggy in like 20 years, they have no idea. They're just like, oh yeah, let me give this shove, and whoa, takes off.
I'm looking at
but yeah, it's always nice to give this is a note to all of you out there who are in organizations. It's always nice to let your alumni come back and participate in some way. It doesn't really mean anything. Obviously, it's an exhibition, so who cares? But like, it makes them feel good, and then they're more likely to donate money to you to help support the things that you want to do. So like, just keep that in mind. Alumni heats have other reasons.
So again, there no disqualifications in this.
And in fact, this is probably
Apex is out late to the line there.
Yeah,
that's good. Guaranteed separation's always nice.
Yeah. And the good news is, Elena mentioned this before with the Pika women being in the solo heat. It's like, yeah, on a normal race day, the follow truck is down there, so the follow truck's just going to go and follow the lead buggy. But as long as you're in front of it, as long as you get your buggy out before the follow truck starts going, you're going to be able to get it down. So, good on the Apex mechanics for getting it there in time.
Interesting here in the free roll.
Depending on when it's never too late until the follow truck's gone.
And there is a biker near.
And I'm trying to see. I think there are
where we have Apex coming up
3 heats to go. And, so we're almost done. So I guess as we as we get close, I know there's one more spirit heat that unfortunately has a spin. And then obviously we're ending with the most important heat of the entire 3 days, which is the BAA versus sweepstakes heat, which I know we will want to talk about. So let me open the floor. Like, are there any do you have anyone who's on? Elena, Jazz, James, any of you, anyone else? Like, do you have any takeaways from 2025? Things that you thought went well, things that you thought didn't go well? Any stories that you want to share? I mean, we usually try to do this a few years later so that the stories are a little more removed. So I understand if you still think you're too close in time, like the people involved are still active, where you don't want to, spill the beans. So we'll have to do another one of these in a few years where we can,
we'll see how
tell some more stories. But if there are any things that are that you have any stories or any thoughts on the year, feel free to. I will open the floor.
I think that was Ethan.
Do not sleep on fall rolls because spring can sometimes be very not guaranteed.
I want to I want to echo this for a second because this year more than anything, and even like mini race day today has like crystallized this for me. Like if you're an organization, I know it fall, like you're not really thinking about Buggy. It's hard to get out for that, but there aren't as many teams that come out in the fall. The weather in the fall is always better. It's warmer. For the most part, you get longer days, and there are fewer teams. You don't have new buggies out. You'll get more rolls in. If you are an organization that doesn't come out a lot, but like you're gonna race. All it takes, you come out 1, maybe 2 days in the fall, you can get like a full slate. You can probably get 8, 10 rolls in over that time. You'll get a bunch of rolls under your belt. You'll have some of the kinks worked out. You'll get the driver all squared away. You'll get some pushers some experience, and you're not scrambling last minute to try and qualify over truck weekend or the week before, because somehow. I don't know if it's math or what, but like in the fall, you've got like 3 or 4 weeks in September, 3 or 4 weeks in October, like 3 or 4 weeks in November that you get to roll. In the spring, you get like a week or 2 of February, and then like 2, maybe 3 weeks of March, and then you're in Carnival. So like the number of days of rolls you get in the fall is way more than the spring. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of the warm weather. The lighter days, the fewer people, just get out and do rolls.
Yeah. No, it's fun. We did see like new rules come out of this. Finally, people have learned. So now there's both fall pass tests for returning drivers. Which came out of the fact that we ended up readjusting driver qualifications to match the weather issues. We waived past tests for returning drivers just generally because we wouldn't have had time to do them. So now we have a rule that allows for those to be done in the fall, as opposed to not at all, potentially. And also, there was a proposed rule that went through for if you get a lot of rolls in the fall, you can carry over in a couple additional ones into the spring to reduce your spring rolling requirements, to encourage coming out in the fall more. So, yeah. No, it's definitely a
wow, this is going to be close. It's going to be a
thing.
Hill 2 shove, and these buggies are neck and neck. Who says?
And this is always the thing you probably don't want to see in an exhibition. It's exciting to watch that buggies are like right next to each other, but it's an exhibition. Like this race doesn't matter at all. So
you would hope it's not.
On the other side, this is
yeah, it's harder with exhibitions because frequently they are determined. The postings are determined like day of.
If that.
I organized the Apex exhibition a couple years ago, and I basically like told a couple people like, hey, you've got to figure out how to cover these hills, and I'll figure out how to cover these hills. And so total surprise to me who ended up pushing.
I found out day of that the CIA exhibition Hill 2 was the men's A Hill 2 from the year before. So that's why Starling was soaring.
You're saying day of. There was one year for AE Pi that we would I was pushing Hill 3, and because it's AE Pi, the buggy stopped like halfway up the chute. So I had to pick it up from there. I couldn't make it to Hill 3. I literally grabbed one of our brothers who just happened to be standing near Scaife Hall and said, "Hey, you take this," and shoved it off to him. He came off the sidewalk and like grabbed it and pushed it up to Hill 4. So it's literally not just day of, mid-heat we decided what the roster was going to be.
You're not really competing.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes that sort of stuff happens.
Yeah.
The hope usually is that because it's not important and it's an exhibition, Oh my God, there's a child.
Yeah, and by the way, another thing I will point out, if you're an alum and you bring back your kids, have your kids push the buggy. I'm sure it's exciting for them. I mean, hopefully they can reach the push bar. That's the only question. But either way, like, even if they can't, have them run alongside you. You don't have to push fast. It's just a fun family experience.
That buggy does have a jumbo push bar.
Well, yeah, the reason I wouldn't have thought that normally. I just said that because it didn't look like the kid here could actually reach the top of it. So,
I mean, that's true for some drivers too.
Yeah, is Starling designed to be a men's buggy?
Yes, it has a push bar that reaches my neck.
I would love to see that be the CIA drivers exhibition buggy one time, just to see.
It was in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see me on Hill 5, like, almost in tears because the buggy is too tall for me.
Like 2 weeks between Raceday and
Yeah,
the end
it's
of
rough
spring break.
for
So some teams, to the extent they can
short people.
It works out different parts of your arm. It's more exercise. That's all.
They'll try to do that.
Something like that, yeah.
We'll see when the
back to takeaways.
Yes.
We're less than 30 seconds out.
I think that
exhibition, we do not have a roster for this
my
one.
biggest takeaway was how well teams can handle lots of weird nonsense, and when there's a really big focus on being safe and the cooperation between the sweepstakes and the chairs and the teams themselves, how good, and there's a lot of trust. You could make things happen with very little time and resources. We were expecting things to go a lot worse. Instead, we probably had one of the cleanest race days I've seen in terms of like spins or questionable stuff happening on the course itself. And so, just I don't know. If you're an alumni and you're like, kids these days, something, that's not true. They're all doing a very, very good job.
And again,
they all work their butts off to make sure everything goes well and they remain competitive and everyone remains safe.
Who is the driver qualified in Hydra, so I'm assuming that is the driver.
And one other thing that I want to mention for the drivers out there, and not that any drivers other than Jazz are watching this, but if there are drivers out there, again, just in terms of like saying getting out in the fall, like the more rolls you can get in your buggy, the more comfortable you're going to be, and there's always going to be crazy things that happen on race day, even like that exhibition where like you're going into it, no one knows what the push teams are going to be like. You don't know you're going to be close. But like the more comfortable you get in the buggy, the more adaptable you can become. Because the more you understand how the buggy works, and the more you can control, the more you can control it. So like if you have the unlikely event that like CIA Women's D had with Kingfisher passing on the inside of the chute, yeah, maybe you've never done a pass inside the chute before because you don't train for that. That technically, if you do that, that's not even a successful pass test. But like that's the sort of thing where the more experience you have in the buggy, the more able you are to easily handle that, and you have a nice, easy pass, and you do awesome in the heat, and it also looks cool. And then everyone gets to rave about how awesome you did, and you get to hear Will talk about how amazing of a driver you are, and all this cool stuff. So, like, just take advantage of as many rolls as you can get. Plus, I wish I could drive, but I just assume it's a lot of fun to be in there. So, you know, enjoy it.
Complete a sub 3-minute race.
I guess the only fun story I have, not even much of a story, but back in like January, when Stacy, the sweepstakes advisor, and I were laying out the year, there was a point where I went, should we get permits for the weekend after race day, just in case something happens? And she was like, probably not. Like, we have 3 whole days to get race day. Like, what's going to happen? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, we've never had to go to Sunday, really. Like, what's the chances? We're going to get rained out, like, all weekend. So anyways, just like prepare for everything, because if you actively ignore something, it's going to be what goes wrong.
In Stacy's defense, the last time we even went to the Sunday was 1999, and the last time we had to go to a second weekend was 1981. So not only had she never,
there was like no reason for us to think that this was going to happen until it literally was happening.
And by the way, I gotta say, like, Stacy, from an outside perspective, I'm not on sweepstakes. I don't know, but from my perspective, Stacy has done a great job in the 3 years now that she's been here, 2.5 years that she's been here. But the number of crazy things that she's been thrown in the things that haven't happened before, or the things that like you don't even plan for in those 2.5 years is kind of wild. Like the things that you guys have had to deal with.
Situation is definitely a introduction.
Yeah.
Rachel, the vice president.
It's just crazy, all this stuff. But yeah, so this is our final heat. This is the epic battle, BAA versus sweepstakes. This started.
I'd like to say a few words, which is mostly that in the spirit of competition, BAA has like 10 plus officers, and sweepstakes has exactly 6. And so the BA had the opportunity to make an evenly matched race as best they could, and instead they did not. Sweepstakes was composed mainly of small women, and I think the BA chose mainly large men to push, and I think that was not in fair spirit.
Here is my rebuttal to that. The large men are largely out of shape and old.
Okay, but like relative weight to Buggy does matter when you're trying to give it a push. I think Jazz can attest. Like, it's hard when the Buggy is actually bigger than you are. Legitimately.
I think the more interesting thing on that point is that this year BAA has 2 officers that are fresh out of that are fresh grads, and I think they both are pushers and like fast men's pushers. Meanwhile, sweepstakes has Sam Green, and I think a lot of small-ish women. I suppose not all of the women are small, but
I'm just saying that I do think for this to be a good grudge match, there needs to be potential competition. So now this year, was it close?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Well, so the flip side, or the problem the other way is, yes, there are more BAA officers. Well, this year there are a lot of sweeps officers, so the number of sweeps positions has expanded. But there are yes, but there are more BAA officers, but not all of them are in town. And I just don't think the BAA has as many small women currently on its roster. I think Rachel specifically didn't want to push.
I think we did a better job, actually.
All right. So I have to ask Jazz, because you are driving Goldfinch for the BAA. I want to know what's in your mind right now. Like,
and why don't you just break and, like, you know, do a few swerves?
Like, you can I assume see Lust and Lara in front of you.
I can see Lust in front of me. On Hill 3 and 4, I don't think I was thinking at all about like passing or getting close to passing, and I think on the first half of Hill 5 I also wasn't even sure, but like at some point Dan just starts sprinting full speed like right there, and I was like, oh okay, I guess we're doing this.
Anyways,
I don't know what happened, what kind of like mental shift went through Dan's brain there, but he like went so much faster that last like 15 seconds.
I think he just saw that, oh, here's the finish line. Wait, maybe I can get there?
before.
We'll see.
Yeah, it was an exciting race, so I will give it that. I'm hoping for a sweepstakes comeback this year.
I have to
might
give
be an alumni, but I'm still firmly on their side.
I do have to give sweepstakes a brief shout out here, because in the past, sweepstakes has rigged the race against the BAA by giving the BAA a terrible, terrible buggy.
Why would we do that? We would never do that.
Well,
do not say that about Bumper.
This year,
Bumper just was a coincidence, you know?
This year, sweepstakes was at least kind enough to give us a legitimate buggy, which made it a legitimate race.
Whoa.
But
Bumper fans are hurt.
Bumper fans are hurt. Bumper is a legit buggy.
Shout out.
Molotov, maybe?
Shout out to Bumper. I like to think that sweepstakes giving Bumper to the BAA in 2023 was payback for AEPI giving sweepstakes camo to push, because sweepstakes said that they would push an exhibition heat back in 2009 if someone would lend them a buggy to do it, and so we said, okay, here is camo. So they put up like a 4-minute time. With that,
I will say,
yes, go ahead.
I am going to be doing a team switch this year.
Well, yeah, I assume that's
Sorry,
why I assume you are going to be driving or pushing for sweepstakes. I'm hoping that the BAA will get Lara, who is driving Pika's Raptor this year, who has been sweepstakes the last couple of years.
I will be rooting for sweepstakes this year. I will say that. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
This is Dan.
Welcome.
And I fully acknowledge and understand what Elena was saying. And just also, what we were saying was, I just saw, obviously I pushed for CIA, and I just saw the CIA catchers at the end. But just like, I just want to try to run as fast as I can to try to catch up. So that was just all that went through my mind at that moment.
Do not worry. I will never judge trying hard on the race. I think it's sad if you don't try hard. I do think that sweepstakes deserves to win, though. Like, come on.
We're not just gonna let you win. Like, you have to earn it. It's not like you're, it's not like a parent to their like young child. You guys are the college kids. You guys are all in shape. Just put me on a hill. It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna survive it. So the back hills put me out of breath just trying to walk up them.
This is fair. There's a reason I pushed Hill 2 and Hill 2 only, and I was like, I'm not gonna make. Also, because I didn't have the time to walk down to any other hill, but I was like, I'm not gonna be able to run a whole hill.
Exactly.
Hill 2 is like half a hill.
Exactly. All right. Well, that is Race Day 2025. So I want to thank everyone for joining, whether you joined in person, whether you joined online, whether you watch this later. I want to especially thank Elena, Jazz, James, Nate, Dan for popping in, for joining me here. I believe there are rolls tomorrow morning. One last call if you want a BAA sweatshirt, or I guess it's a BAA sweatshirt, but it is just a general Buggy sweatshirt. Today is the last day. That's cmubuggy.org/merch. This year, we've got Race Day is April 10th and 11th. I think Carnival starts April 9th, which is a Thursday. So hope to see you all in Pittsburgh. And with that, I think we'll sign off. Thanks again.
Cool beans. Thanks, Barsham.
Thanks, Barsham.
Thank you, Barsham.